All right, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it's in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Aman. Welcome to everybody. Come on in. How you guys doing? Thanks for spending some time with us again today. We appreciate you. Trying to make sure that we have this on our platform so everybody can come on in if they'd like to. And thanks for taking some time out with us. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And once again, we give all praise and honor to Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful to everybody who supports her business, which her business is making sure that the health of the diaspora is her business as well. And we look forward to talking to you guys again. We look forward to the help that you guys give as well as the help she's able to give you all. We thank you guys again, though, for being on. Thanks for taking a little time and spending some time with us today. We appreciate you. And we're excited about what the Most High has for you in your life today. And prayerfully, there'll be something that comes across today that blesses you and blesses your family and allows you to continue to move on and go in the way in which Yahweh wants us to go and to flow in. And thank you again for spending some time with us, to the moderators, to the ministerial staff, to the elder, to the SOC, Yasharel, those who are grafting, those who believe, do not believe, those that want us to, would like to learn, etc. We appreciate you so very much. And yes, we have a website. If you'd like to be able to find out information about the website, all you got to do is go to our TikTok page and click on the link tree. If you're on YouTube, you can look in the description box and do the same. And there's much more information about many different things that we do around the world. And we're excited and thankful to be on with you all again. So let's go ahead and get into this today. We appreciate you all again for being on with us. We're thankful to you all for being on again. And today in our Truth About series, that's what we've been doing for a little while now. Truth about relationships, truth about marriage, truth about the government, truth about America, truth about revelation, truth about the list goes on and on and on, truth about gaslighting, of all these different things we talked about. Today, we want to talk about the truth about our women. And I know this is a dangerous subject matter, especially because I am a man. I am a male, and I get it. And there's some people who, because you're of a different culture, you're going to automatically go patriarchy. I get it, right? But if hopefully you would listen long enough, because I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about a cultural perspective, right? I cannot even speak for all women, including all women within our culture. However, I believe that I have enough experience, not only being the husband of one wife, not only listening to women for quite a long time, not only being raised in many different matriarchies around the world, including this nation called the United States of America, not the United States Corporation as well, not only in many different things I've done as far as one-on-one coaching, life coaching, marital coaching for, coming up on a couple decades. But also, I want to give you a perspective that comes from what our culture and our people believe. So prayerfully, you'll be able to listen in, hear. Of course, feel free to put questions, comments, concerns in there, of course, but hopefully you'll be able to listen in long enough that you might be able to catch some of what we're saying before we start doing this back and forth thing and having to explain every little detail. If not, though, we're still appreciative of having you all on. So hello to everybody. Let me go ahead and move back a little bit. How you doing? Sister Cynthia, there's Mac, Elion, thanks. And those who were on the early rising Bible study session as well, and the workout session we had. Thank you guys so much. How you doing, Cookie? How are you doing? Big Brother Thomas, Sister Sharon, Brother Alton, Shelt 200, Tree by Living Water, Ricky Jacobson, Clara P. Hello, feel like it's been a little while. Hopefully you've been well. Whitehurst, thanks for being part of the community. So do we have a website? Oh yeah, we already answered that. Auntie Judy, how you doing? Shalom to you. Golden Cage, thanks for being part of the community. Minister Shantae, I see you on there. How you doing? If I miss your name, please forgive me. Charge it to my head and not to my heart. Keisha, how you doing? Sister Sharice, Brother Eugene from the D, Predator against the devil. All right. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being part of the community. How you doing? All righty. I feel like I missed some people. Just made me scroll. Well, regardless, hopefully everybody's doing well. Big Ak, how you doing? Uh, I can't see it. All right. Well, we thank you. We appreciate you. Yeah. So once again, if you go on TikTok and you go to where it says link tree on our TikTok page. So if you click if you actually go to our actual TikTok page, click on the link tree, and you should be able to go ahead and click on whichever one that pops up. One of them should say like Kofi-Forty.com. That's the website. If you go to hashtag find Kofi, that's the YouTube channel, and there's an older class schedule, but nevertheless, it has some information about some of the classes that we teach that maybe you might want to look into. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. The truth about women. I will do my best. I'm sorry. How you doing, Michael? How you doing, Livy? How you doing, Brother Oakley? Grand Rising to you, continuing to do great things and continue to improve in your life. Awesome to see, and thanks for you sharing your experience with you on your experience with sobriety. I'm excited for you. And how you doing, William? Sister Lori, Coco, Minister Tamara, everybody, Lottie Dottie, everybody, we thank you so much for being on and spending some time with us. So we're talking about not the truth about women, although there will be a lot of stuff about women in general. We want to make this clear. Today, we're talking about the truth about our women. Okay. And that's going to be tough for some. So that means it's not necessarily a feminist movement conversation, although parts of the feminist movement should be heard. Of course, really all of it should be heard and parts of it should be supported. This is not, hey, this is for every single woman that's ever existed, although every single woman that existed deserves to be able to be treated and represented and treated with respect, right? The truth about our women. And when I say our women, I have one wife, right? But when it comes to our community, our women operate differently in our culture. So whether you accept the fact that we believe that we should be able to make sure that our women within our culture are treated a certain way or not, that's up to you. But, this is a very smart way of trying to, take a little jab in there, but that's not what I'm talking about. So if you'd like, once again, to listen long enough to hear how this conversation is going to flow, and then feel free to be part of it because you'll be respectful, then feel free, right? If not, it probably is just best that you find somebody else that will make sure that they elevate your way of thought so you'll feel great. This is not a thing saying you can't challenge what I'm saying. Okay. We want to make that clear. There's another thing I'm saying. You cannot challenge what I'm saying. I'm saying, though, I would like to come to you with contextual facts. And we have some of our women, our sisters. When I say our women, we're talking about Yashtil, Israelite women. We're talking about people of tribes, people who are gone through chattel slavery, people who are destitute and oppressed, and many different cultures, even within our, right? So I'm talking about the diaspora. So obviously, I'm not saying every single woman to ever exist. And like I said, I know this can come off as dangerous because some of you are going to do the whole patriarchy thing. You don't have to listen to anything I'm saying because I'm a man, and how dare a man say anything about a woman? And I get that, right? However, I believe that I've been empathetic enough to be able to have this conversation and represent what our sisters, some of which are on, so they can school me too, or correct me, or redirect me, whatever way we need to go. But I've listened to enough people over, like I said, coming up on 2 decades of doing what I do, to be able to be in a position to be able to hear and also give a perspective, right? Said Hebrew Israelite, sure. I'm a Hebrew, I'm an Israelite, I'm Black. If you want to say somewhere in the mix of that, I probably don't fit in whichever version of that people usually say, but I'm here. All right. And how you doing, babe? My wife is on, the Honorable Maya. Once again, check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Sorry, TikTok, I'm going to disappear just for a second. I got to make sure our batteries going correctly. And then we're going to get started. But thank y'all for being on. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into this today. So the truth about our women, and we're talking about a cultural perspective. We're talking about something specific. I'm not talking about everybody else. Once again, I'm not trying to deny anybody's right to talk about things. And like I say, there shall be some things that we will talk about today. There shall be some things that will be discussed today that obviously affect everybody. Matter of fact, might not just affect women, might affect all women, might affect all human beings, might affect children as well. I'm just saying specifically, we want to come from a cultural perspective, because oftentimes what happens is our women don't get a place. And by the way, maybe we can even do some calls in if you guys want to, especially through TikTok, Facebook. I'm not sure. I guess we could do something like that. But on TikTok specifically, if you'd like to be able to maybe do a call in or something like that, be able to get your position across, just please let us know in the chat so I can actually see what it is. And maybe you can tell me what you'd like to say or whatever in that way, because I can't really screen the call. So if I don't know who you are, I won't just automatically put you on, because you could be somebody randomly coming in and start talking about, I don't know, Cheetos and stuff. Believe it or not, we've had some weird conversations in the past. And obviously this is something that's in depth. But when we talk about our women, first of all, in our culture, we have to realize, like, what is a woman to us? How you doing, Sister Cassandra? Right. And so, like, if we're gonna get started correctly, what is a woman to us? And somebody says, well, a woman is everybody knows what a woman is. No, a woman is different in each culture. You know why I know that? Because genders are different for each culture. Because we don't know the word gender and we don't use that correctly, let alone the word woman. You hear woman in a patriarchal society and you believe somebody that's supposed to be treated badly or somebody that we look down upon, right? You hear it in a patriarchal society, that's what you think. How you doing, Sister Betty? How you doing, Minister Morel? But when we say woman in our culture, ashach, or even a woman is specifically a person who is of high regard. A girl is different than a woman, right? And a wife is different than a woman as well. A woman deserves respect, but a wife gets even higher respect. And by the way, wife does not mean you belong to a male. Wife in our culture means you were pre-qualified for marriage. That means that when somebody finds you, because in our culture we don't really date. How you doing, Sister Beverly? So in our culture we do not date, right? So in our culture we do not date. So in our culture, you are a wife already before your husband is there. You are a husband already before your wife is there. Matter of fact, in our culture, if you want to bring in our belief system to it, then you have to go to a place to where we as Yashvel are a wife of the Most High. And I can't even treat my wife correctly unless I'm properly in submission to my husband, the Most High, because the Most High is neither male nor female, right? So I have to be in submission to my husband in the spirit. How you doing, Miss Modesty, first? And then I can start talking about trying to make sure that I'm in a position to be a vessel, that my wife might, through my being a vessel, be submitted to the mission of the Most High. Because wives are not supposed to, in our culture, it's different. Women are not supposed to be, or wives are not supposed to be in submission, right? But wives are supposed to be in submission. If you have no mission, then she should not be listening to anything you have to say anyways. At least anything you have to say concerning her being in submission. If there is zero mission, then there is zero reason for our women to be in submission. You said to you, woman, your mom, your wife, your daughter, your partner, a person created from me. Okay, cool. Well, if that's what you hold on, that might be a belief system. I can see kind of sort of what you're saying in that, right? And thanks for being part of the community, Nikki. Appreciate it. So when we say women, and now we're talking about our women, we want to say our women because our women should be addressed differently, right? Our women should be treated with respect just because they are women. But woman, just like man in our culture, see, we do this weird thing with men where we say men don't have rites of passage anymore, which is true. They're getting rid of rites of passage, and we should, even though we wouldn't have called it that, but you know what I'm saying, things that would determine, yes, you are in fact in your culture, your gender, your males, they say specifically your style of being a male, your style of being a man, this is what you're supposed to do to reach certain goals. But what has happened too is we have taken those things off the table as well for our sisters and for our mothers and for our queens and for our counterparts, for those that should be not in front of us, not behind us, not above us, not beneath us, but beside us, right? And so here are some things that we have to be honest about. What is a rite of passage within our culture for our women? Right? This is just something that should be there in a communal fashion. What is the stuff we always talk about with the men? What is the rite of passage for our women? What are the things that we have determined that our women should go through? My wife is getting ready to December 19th, I believe, is going to be our Women in Red event, which is basically like having a tea, but like having an Africanized or an Afrocentric version of a tea. We do it every year, been doing it every year for several years now, maybe 6, 7, 8, I don't even know how many years now. We've been doing it for a while now. And part of the reason we do that is because it helps, just like we do with our brothers in black, but today we're focused on women, the Women in Red event, it helps our sisters to be able to have a standard that we are able to uphold, right? It's important for, according to Titus chapter 2, It's important for elder sisters and elder women to be able to teach younger women, and elder wives to be able to teach younger wives. But what are they teaching them? What is the mission? Right? How do you love a husband? And what is the mission? How you doing, Minister Nice? How you doing? This is Shatha outside. Hopefully I said that correctly. How you doing? Is it El Gallo? El Gallo? El Gallo? Appreciate you. Thanks for being on. Thanks for being part of the community. Right. So when we say this, well, you say it might differ from a region. Exactly. So that's why I'm saying specifically in our culture. Once again, we have to establish a culture. Even if we have different tribes, there must be some umbrella. And that's part of the problem. It's like we have all these different tribes. And yes, express my tribe, express my tribe, express my tribe. But really now it's gotten to, well, my family, my family, my family. Then it goes to, well, what I want, what I want, what I want. What is the actual setup? Right? What is the actual rites of passage? How are you supposed to raise a young baby girl into a grown woman who's worthy of being a wife, who's worthy of being a mother, so that when her husband who should already be in his work, finds her and asks her, shall you be my wife to help me to meet this mission? That she's already pre-qualified for everything that's going to happen. What in our culture is set up? What are we setting up to make sure that our sisters don't feel insecure? When I say insecure, how you doing, Sister Lorraine? When I say insecure, I'm not saying that our sisters are bad for being insecure. I'm saying that our sisters feel insecure because we are not securing them. Not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, love language wise. What is your wife's love language? What is your sister's love language? What is your daughter's love language? What is your mother's love language? What is your aunt's love language? Right? We can do a catch-all and be like, yes, men's number one need is respect. Women's number one need is to be secure. All right, once we get past that, what is your love language? How you doing? Use a 718 blessing to you. I can't. Is it Virginia? I don't know how to pronounce it. VIRGINIEDIEBREY. Thanks for being on with us. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Right? Oh, Virginia Debre. Okay. Debre, I still don't feel like I'm saying that correctly, but thanks for being on. Right. What is the qualification for wife? What is the qualification for daughter? What is the qualification? Because watch this. If I don't know what the qualification is, how do I make sure that as a father, I help her to become what she's supposed to become? If I don't know the qualification, how do I, as a male, help you in your journey as a female? Or you at my journey as a man, how do I help you in your journey as a woman? How do I speak up for you? Because I hear sisters saying, speak up for it, speak up for it, speak up for it, speak up for it. May I be honest? I talked about this a little yesterday. Men were raised playing games, right? And when we were raised playing games, games have rules, they have regulations, we keep score. They're not supposed to change. And if you change the rule, we have to agree on it all together as a community. Everybody playing the game has to agree on the rule change, or else we can't do it. If you change the rule, but not everybody knows the rule, then you're a cheater. You're a liar. So I need to know the rules. And if I've got a sister over here telling me what Oprah says, and I got a sister over here telling me, well, this person says, and this book says, and this says 10 places to me, man, and this person is talking about the patriarchy, and you guys are down with the patriarchy and blah blah. And I'm sitting up there trying to figure out, okay, what are the rules? Because in all honesty, I don't control anything, but I'm being told I'm patriarchal. I'm trying to tell you to come out of this system that's corrupt and has you thinking that your men are the problem. And maybe we are problematic. Not maybe, a lot of us are problematic because we don't recognize our culture. Okay, cool. But I'm telling you, like, I grew up with a mother and father in the house. So before somebody comes to me, and I'm not saying that means that I know everything, but I'm just saying women will put that out there, are women, and we need to listen to them. But I'm listening, and I'm just telling you, somebody trying to figure out rules. I grew up with a mother and father in the house. So please don't tell me that it's because I don't know what a mother is, or I was raised single, or I don't love my mother, blah, blah. Like, my mother passed away when I was young. So this is not me being a mama's boy, right? She was there up until I became an adult. I joined the military. Pretty much as soon as I joined the military, she passed away. And her last words were words of encouragement. And I live by those words of encouragement, which is why I do what I do. I represent her when I speak. I need to know the rules, though. Like, so if that's there, are we going to take that off the table? Like, I need to know the rules. All right. It's like, well, men hate us. They're all patriarchy, whatever. I grew up in a matriarchal society. Men don't live as long as the women do. I grew up in the hood, where in the hood, or when I was in the hood, when I was in the suburbs, when I was in an apartment complex, whatever it was that I grew up, when I was in New York, when I was in North Carolina, when I was in Virginia, when I was in DC, when I was in Maryland, when I was in Florida, or I never lived there, but when I've been in Georgia, when I've been in Chicago, when I've been in Hawaii, when I've been wherever I've been around the world, even, I keep seeing our culture having matriarchies because men aren't living that long anyways. Right. So there's a lot of men out there that are like, I keep hearing how I'm the patriarchy, but I grew up in a matriarchy. I grew up where women determine what the whole family's going to do. I grew up with a bunch of big mamas and Medeas and old heads on the woman's side, but I didn't grow up with any old heads on the brother's side. And if I did, they were falling apart. They sat in the chair. They were quiet. They pretty much were already unhealthy. They felt defeated and they mumbled. Maybe y'all have experienced this, with some of your grandfathers, as they put different people at that age range, where they mumbled. They always were mumbling, man. If you listen to him, man, she ought to tell me what to do, and then blah blah. And then somebody says, "What you say, Pop? Nothing. Don't worry about it." She say this and then blah blah. Right? Like I grew up in that I keep hearing that we're ruling. Right? I'm just saying, like I keep hearing that, like we are. And I'm not saying we have nothing to change. We got to talk about that. We need to change. We must change. We must be honest. But I'm just trying to tell you. Right? For me, as far as love language, I always go to Dr. Gary Chapman, the 5 love languages. And he has many different versions of it here. Love language, period. 5 love languages for marriage, 5 love languages for children, 5 love languages for work, etc. Right? But I'm just saying in general, I grew up seeing matriarchy. I've traveled a lot of places in the world and I see a lot of matriarchy. Right? I'm not saying that patriarchy is not in charge, but I'm saying in our culture with our people, oftentimes it is matriarchal. And if necessary, it's going to be easy. Not easy, but easy. Even. I don't know why I say easy. It's going to be even. Right? But we're having this conversation as if I hate you as a man. And it becomes hard because what are the rules? Because you want me to come out and support you and finish you, and I will. But are you saying support you and say we're all part of the patriarchy and we need to change? But then I go back to the matriarchy and you're still telling me I'm a problem. That's what I'm saying. Like we have to have some rules, right? And so I'm going off of things that our sisters have taught me. I'm not saying I hope you guys know this. Those who may not know this about me, I don't like to give opinion. I don't like to give anything outside of contextual facts. Some people will give facts with no context. Some people will give context with no facts, but we got to give contextual facts. This is not me coming to you saying, this is what I think, this is what I feel, this is what I want, this is what y'all need to listen to, blah, blah. Hey, Jamaica in the house, how you doing? Right? Like, that's not me saying those things. This is me saying specifically, inshallah, I am. This is me trying to say, hey, and how you doing, Noble? Appreciate you. This is for us to say we need to come together. And so we want to talk about the truth about our women because, see, here's some of the things that I don't think you sisters know. But a lot of brothers, we don't mind sisters speaking their part. Oh, thank you, Andre. I appreciate it. Like, we don't mind women speaking their mind. We just want to know, we want peace, we want harmony, and we love to give direction. But even sometimes we know we need to turn it off. But we love it when you lay down the law. I don't think the sisters realize that. Like, that's how we're built. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. Fathers give instruction, mothers lay down law. If I give an instruction and you lay down the law to protect the instruction that I've given, because my instruction is really just me laying down the law for the Most High. So if I got instruction from my husband and I give those instructions as the vessel to you, I love to see you lay down a law. And I will follow whatever you say, because whatever you're saying, it matches the instruction. So we know we've been raised. We were raised off of your breast, out of your bosom. We recognize that the law has to come from the wife. How you doing, Sister Shima? We recognize, we love it, we want it, we honor it, we cherish it. We need that. I need your law. Do you hear what I'm saying? The truth about our women, which means that I got to tell the truth about our community, our society, our culture, and even our men. So if you're not hitting these, you might want to reevaluate if you're part of this diaspora or not, at least as far as the culture that you initially had. So you can physically be part of a thing, but never accept it. Remember, the same Proverbs 1:8 I just used, the same Proverbs chapter 1. We just talked about this in the early Rise Bible study session today. And Proverbs chapter 1, verses 2 and 3. Verse 2 says that you should be able to be into, or you should at least know, you should at least recognize wisdom But verse 3 says that you need to be able to receive wisdom. And a lot of people will recognize that women have wisdom, but you don't receive the wisdom from her. I need to be better in that myself, right? Right? You said women were taught to take control and protect the man, children from death after the man was taken out. Yeah, Willie Lynch type mindset, right? So a lot of people are aware that women have wisdom, but can you receive it? See, the truth about our women is not that they are not wise. The truth about our women is not that they're just purely emotional, which, by the way, even if they were emotion, you are emotional too. You just show emotion different, right? But the truth about our women is that they are trying their best to lay down law. But now, if we also give a truth, they were taught to reverse their nature. And they were taught because we were taken out of position and were taught to cower and fear and to only do what we were told. Mandingo, to only do what you were told by the overseer, to only do what you were told. Sambo, to only do what you were told. Even preachers that were in church. Nat Turner, was a preacher that for years was preaching that it was okay to mistreat black people and all that until he actually found a real Bible and not the slave version. And that's what caused him to say, let my people go and we're going to fight, right? But we were taught as men to get out the way. We were taught as men to breed and not to get married. We were taught as men to make sure that all we were there for was labor and nothing else. Right? That's what you were taught, to breed and not to marry. That's why you don't mind having sex, but you mind taking care of your family. You said the Most High doesn't exist. Well, God doesn't exist. I don't worship God. I worship Elohim. It's different. It's like you're talking about a deity. It's different than a deist. A deist is different than your Norse theology. Norse theology is going to be different than Kemetic Netchers, and that's going to be a little different than Cush and all that. But yeah, if you don't believe in a higher power of any kind whatsoever, that's fine. Listen to the allegorical perspective, because at the end of the day, whether you believe in the one that I say I believe in, does it make sense what I'm saying? Does it make sense that a lot of people know something is wise, but they can't receive it, just like you're doing right now? Don't be so wise in your own eyes you can't even receive something. At least hear it. Don't go ad hominem and mess yourself up. And see, that's an example of what happens to our sisters too, is here we are. The main thing I'm trying to talk about here, gaslighting, the truth about gaslighting and the truth about our women coming together, to where I'm talking about our sisters going through something and how we need to start realizing what's happening and we need to hear them. And the first thing somebody does is say, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God either. But that ain't what we're talking about. Right? And by the way, you probably believe in Darwinism. Well, Charles Darwin said that our sisters are not supposed to be respected as other women, let alone men, because he said, this is the title of his book, The Origin of Species, The Theory of Evolution, the struggle, I'm sorry, natural selection, by means of natural selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. And then he put even in the parentheses that it was backed up by royalty, it was backed up by Linnaean thought, Carl Linnaeus, who made up the races that you guys go by today and things like that. So even when you're talking about it, fine, the culture that you're coming from still says that women should be on the bottom. So whether you want to hear it from this or you want to hear it from just looking at the fact that people have literally made up all this stuff about women, just saying even by the color of their skin, they shouldn't get acknowledgement, maybe you should be willing to hear them. But that shows the lack of humanity that we have one for another. I don't believe in God. God is a Germanic deity. I believe in Elohim. There's a difference. Or Elohim, as you would call him. Just like God. See, you think that a God and a deity are the same. Sometimes they can be, but you can change them into whatever you want. You think that a Netcher, that's Kemet or Egypt, you think that Kemet thinks the same thing you do when you say God or Netcher, because or whatever. You think that, matter of fact, it's always interesting. I'll hear people talk about pantheism, and we'll speak about pantheism in India, is that the Indian thinks about pantheism the same way you do. The Indian doesn't think about pantheism. You think that there's multiple gods and they're all equal, which, by the way, you really don't even believe that, because Zeus is supposed to be the father of some, and then Zeus has a father, and then you got to go back to, let's not even talk about the fact we skip over Gaia, who's the woman, who's supposed to be the Big Bang that started all this stuff, but we don't even want to introduce her because we don't even comprehend how this stuff works. We just want to use it for patriarchal value, or values we've been taught out of this system, rather than what's real. But there's a difference between Elohim and God. Like there used to be no difference as far as the titles in between Baal and Elohim until people started worshiping false Baals. And now Baal or Baal is something that you don't want no part of, right? But if you don't know the culture of it, right? But if you're going to talk about Indian pantheism, then you got to realize that when Indians talk about all these what you call gods, they believe that they all started from the same source. So you still got to go back to one because they're just manifestations of the same source. Meaning that if there's a water god or goddess or whatever, I'm not sure what they would, if it's male or female in India. So please forgive me. But if they have one, what they believe is that was created, and therefore is the god of what was created. But what was created by a creator, which means that even the god attached to the river has to go back to a oneness. Because if you can't have a oneness, then you don't have anything. Right. And so we're trying to get this to a oneness, even of thought. I'm sorry, what'd you say, babe? Or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. Yeah. So Charles Darwin was talking about races evolved from different animals, and therefore different races should be treated different. And dark-skinned races are not as powerful, not dominant, even though we know that's not even part of whose law is it? Maslow's law? No, that's somebody else. Whoever put the law together where we can see what dominant genes are, and you put those little boxes and stuff in those 4 squares, and you had to be able to figure out 1, 2, 3, 4, and see possibilities were, like, that teaches you right there. If that's your science going against Darwinism, but people will still uphold it. You know why? Because they need to lift that up. Right. So even in that, it's still going back to a oneness, because Chronos doesn't even come into existence. You got to deal with firmament, and before firmament, you got to deal with Gaia. And before Gaia, that there was zero. There was nothing. That's your Big Bang. Right. So all I know is this, is that if you're going to deal in these things, or not all I know, I'm not going to do that. Be careful what you speak over yourself. What I want to present to you today, though, is focusing on our sisters. See, and how hard it gets, because I'm literally trying to say, let's focus on our sisters. And with that much ease, or that much quickness, rather, and thanks for the love, that much quickness, somebody will take with something that's going to say, hey, we should listen to our women's perspective. I'm not saying all women don't have a right. It's Mendel. Thank you, Mendel, the genetics. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, thanks, babe. I appreciate you. So, and how you doing, big brother Vincent? So what I'm trying to say is our sisters have had a different conversation that's needed to have been had, and we haven't listened to it, nor have we even introduced it, nor have we even intellectualized it. How you doing, JG? We've just simply been going off about all the other stuff, and the patriarchal movement, feminist movement. Those are things that really aren't, at the end of the day, going to help our sisters. Are there some things in there that our sisters are being represented in? Sure, but I'm talking about our women. They have gone through a different phase, right? Like, I know that I'm just using social constructs here, okay? Social constructs, all right? So hopefully you get, I'm not saying it because I don't believe there's a such thing as a white person, because there can't be a white person because there's no color white. Right? Like, if you use white out on a white piece of paper, what you're really doing is saying, like, I don't need it. Like, matter of fact, I had a problem with some of the stuff. My wife had to remind me I was going to try and get some printer paper for some of the event that we just did, and I was going to try and have, like, the front cover of the booklet that we made for y'all. I was going to try and have it be black, and then my wife was like, if you put it black, even if you, like, make the letters and everything white, this and that or whatever, she was like, basically, like, you're going to have, like, a situation where it can't be seen, right? Because, like, the printer is not really going to do the color white. It doesn't know how to do that. It can't do that, right? So I could try and go through all that stuff. So I don't even believe there's a such thing as it's a social construct. I don't believe there's such thing, because white is not a color. White means bright. It means clear. It means the absence of color. It even means translucent, but it is not a color. Somebody told you it was when they need you to believe that white people was a thing so they could cause separation. Right. But so I'm just using the social construct. I realize there's no such thing as a white person. Okay. So before people start arguing that, but I need you to comprehend. I know that people want you to believe that the white struggle is the same as the POC struggle for our sisters, as it is the black struggle, as it is for the native struggle. But they're different struggles, because even though we might have a similar person that we're fighting against, or we might even be fighting against the same person, our fight against the person is not the same. It just isn't. It just isn't. All right. For example, all women couldn't vote. Right. That's true. All women couldn't vote. But you know that they had to come up with something to allow women to kill children, or to kill people in general, but to kill children. It was called the Casual Killing Act. You ever heard of that? The Casual Killing Act? Right. Right. Yeah. And they're teaching the reverse now. Yeah. Unfortunately. Have you ever heard of the Casual Killing Act? Do you know what the Casual Killing Act is? Right? Do you know what the Casual Killing Act is? Right before people are going to the other stuff and everything, Casual Killing Act. If you don't know what the Casual Killing Act is, the Casual Killing Act is an act that they came out with. Its law. Some of y'all still have it on your books, by the way, right? But the Casual Killing Act basically was something that was created because they needed to make sure that people wouldn't get in trouble for killing slaves. Right. So you can kill a slave. Hey, if you killed a slave because they were doing something dangerous, dereliction of duty, they tried to run away, they said something bad, whatever the case is, maybe you went too hard in trying to trying to punish them, but you were punishing them nonetheless. And since this is property, if your property dies or whatever, no problem. Casual Killing Act. Now they didn't allow you to do that with pets. You couldn't just do that with somebody's horse or cow or anything like that, but you could do that with the people. At least they didn't consider us a people, right? And you know why they made the Casual Killing Act? Might I be able to show you a little something? The reason why they came up with the Casual Killing Act. Oh, and thank you, Doll I Am. I appreciate you. Right? Thank you, Doll I Am. Appreciate you. You know why they came up with the Casual Killing Act? They came up with the Casual Killing Act due to the fact that it was white women using the social construct. It was white women, or even women that passed for white, but the slave masters' wives, who were killing children. Right? Yes, amen, Brother Kean. Now, do you know why they were killing children? Do you know why they were killing children? It makes sense. If you know what it is, it's not even that hard to put together. Do you know why they were killing children? See, we talk about these things, but we don't know the context. These white women were killing children exactly because they looked like their husbands. Their husbands were raping property and something less than animals. It was having these half human, half whatever property babies running around. And these children made them feel a certain way, especially because their children that they had, because that's all they were trophies to be used to be able, very Greco-romantic. Their children were supposed to be next in line for the throne. So I got all these half babies out here. That's a threat to my husband's stuff and to my stuff. Now she was out here having sex with some of these slave men too. Don't get it twisted. Slave men were raped too, not just by women, but even by men. Right. So don't get it twisted. She was out here having her fun and if right. But I'm just here to tell you, like they killed babies. They killed them to the point because these little babies were supposed to be slaves, but slave counterparts for the white children. But you got the white child and you got the slave that look like each other. So not only is she weirded out and freaked out and thinking about the throne and all that and thinking about her family's heritage and what's going to happen in the next generation, but she's also pissed off and mad because her husband should just want to only have sex with her. Why would you have sex with this beast? That's her mindset. She flips out, she kills a child. She flips out, she kills another one. She flips out, she kills another one. And that same woman in that same society would have never allowed her to take a puppy and stomp on his head. But she could stomp on the head of a little child. Kill him dead. Stand over it and yellow. And if her husband got upset, her husband didn't get upset because she killed his child. Her husband got upset because she killed valuable property. But he also had to protect her because she was part of the scheme. She was willing to be cheated on. She was taught it was okay to be treated like absolutely nothing. She should have the same fight and fought with us, but she actually is trying to get something where she can get equal to him and not fight with us. Therefore, they came up with a law, Casual Killing Act. If you casually kill somebody, it really is a casual killing act of children. You casually kill a child, I mean, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, right? That's what they teach. Isn't that their saying? The Casual Killing Act. See, there's a difference between our women's thing. Imagine our women who were raped, who didn't even really want to be with child, didn't have the child, try to love the child, try to still be a slave, and then have to watch the child be killed and can't fight for the child unless they're just willing to die. Maybe she has other children she's got to protect. Maybe she's jumped over the broom and has a marriage that nobody's supposed to know. She's trying to figure out how to live while watching her child literally be stomped out in front of her. The same woman who stomped out her child, here comes Sojourner Truth later on. Sojourner Truth, when she says, "Ain't I a woman?" All people want to bring that up. Oh, she's such a feminist and she was speaking for all women, and kind of, sort of, but read her speech. By the way, her speech was only 5 minutes long, done in 1851. So this is before we even get to the Civil War. And Sojourner Truth wanted to come and speak and wanted to support this woman's suffrage movement. However, her white female counterparts said, "Don't come up here and don't speak, because your fight is not our fight." And they said, "You will make us look bad and you will make it to where we can't be heard." Sojourner Truth, anyways, because she's got pride, our women, she decides to come up there anyway. She gives a speech only for 5 minutes. And in her speech, she says, "Hey, I heard that white man over there saying that, hey, women should go ahead and when they come out of carriages, you should help them down and you should make sure you put your coat down so that they don't have to walk in mud and this and that or whatever." She said, "But nobody ever helps me, and ain't I a woman?" Uh-oh. That wasn't talking about everybody, was it? That was one of our women. That was my great, 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 right? Auntie talking about, "Hey, ain't I a woman too?" She said, "I can outwork any man in the field." She said that I had over 10 babies. What did she say? 13, 14 babies? She said, "I had 14 babies." And she said, "I watched all of them sold into slavery. And ain't I a woman?" She was saying she was not just talking to the white patriarchy. She was talking to her white female counterparts. And they didn't want her to represent herself. And this thing still goes today. Why are you talking about black women? Why it's got to be black? Why you always got to qualify? I got to qualify because they have qualities that are not being said. I qualify it because if I don't qualify it, you'll act like it has no quality. You say you take away the label of woman to make sure that she's not represented. I'm sorry, you take away the label of black to say that she just fits in. But the reality is she can't just fit in, because when she and the white woman that are both fighting against the same oppressor fight, she's fighting saying, "Hey, I rolled around in the blood money. You promised me a cut. You never gave me my cut." The other woman is saying, "I'd like to be treated like a human being, please." They're not having the same conversation. If you're not careful, you'll believe they are, but they are not having the same conversation. Our women, when they say, "Look, we need to be appreciated," they're saying we have more degrees than everybody else, but we get paid less than everybody else. When she says we need to be appreciated, right? She's saying, "Hey, I just want what you got. I already live with you, but I'd like to be able to do the same thing. You get to go ahead." Like this is. I need y'all to comprehend it. See, in our culture, we want our women to be themselves. You hear what I'm saying? So watch this. In their cultures, this feminist fight. It has become, "Hey, we can do anything that a man can do." In our culture, there are certain things that men shouldn't do, anyways. That's all you. You be in charge of that. You say this is what it's going to look like. You make sure that you do this, right? Like, we don't need to wear your clothing. We don't need to tell you this. We don't need to do, like, see, watch this. You talk about a patriarchy, but you don't even want to understand. And I'm not here to talk poorly of LGBTQ plus. That's not my goal. I don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. So before somebody goes there, that's not what this discussion is about. Just want to put that out there because I know somebody's mind already flipping to that. That's not what we're talking about, right? But hear what I'm about to say, right? In your culture, white gay men get to tell straight black women what fashion is. And if they don't wear that fashion to the white jobs established by patriarchal society, if they don't wear the hairstyles that they are told are acceptable, which are basically just the hairstyles that white women are able to pull off, then they're not treated the same. Right? You said, how do I feel about a woman working rather than a man? I mean, my wife has made more money than me before in the past, and we're looking at contract stuff to where she might end up making more money than me again. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Proverbs 31 woman, right? But it's about instruction, right? Direction and law, right? Instruction and righteousness. Right now, I've been, and for a while, I've been the breadwinner. And as long as you can take care of your family, my wife will even be the first person to tell you her thing was not so much, even when she was making more than I was. Her thing was never like, "I want you to make more than me," or "you got to be rich." Her thing was just, "If I can't do it by myself, do you have my back?" Right now, any man worth his salt wants to make sure that he can take care of his family. That's his first goal. That's his first step. And even what I do in SOC, even when I travel, you'll discover my family and her family and others and things like that in the community. I'm always going to be taking care of others, but she's going to come first. She's going to come with me. I'm not speaking somewhere and she's not going to be there unless it's like some kind of extreme emergency or something going on. We're going to be lockstep in everything. But the Bible never declares that if your woman makes more money than you, that she's not that. But that's another culture. See, you're talking about romantic culture, romanticizing. Even that is something that is too romanticized, because the reality is you can't talk about like Greco-Roman culture and realize that there's certain cultures to where women made more money than men anyways, because men, when they went to war, that was what they were. They were into war. When men went into war, they were dealing with a whole bunch of stuff anyways. When men went into war, they would be dying off, basically, if I can make it real short and sweet. They died off a lot. And if you had a woman that was married 1, 2, 3 times or whatever, and just finally said, okay, enough of this, my man keeps dying, she ends up with the money. She's rich, she's set for life. And so when you got to make decisions, guess what? You got to come to the women now and ask permission. That's what they had to do in Sparta, and even in Rome to a certain extent. You had to go and ask some of these sisters, like, hey, what do you guys think about this? Will you support it? Because if they didn't support it, that's where the money was. You ain't gonna fight. But that's something that's not talked about as often, because we'd have to admit that women have a right. By the way, that's not even a white thing either, because Greeks and Romans, they were not, by the social construct, that we wouldn't consider them to be white either back in the day. Yeah, you got to move as a unit. I'm sorry, babe. You said, I think as long as the man can feel respected, the setup could work, but respect is earned. Yeah, exactly. And I had to earn that place, because my wife is definitely able to do, way better than what I've been able to do. In all honesty, as far as finances, she's still got connections. If she wants, tomorrow, she really, really wanted to, she could easily be making, high 6 figures. Like easily. Like that's how she rolls. Her whole thing is, she wants to know that I have her back. And once she knows that I have her back, the respect is there. And I think that men have to realize the opposite too, is men are just looking for respect. So and what we've been taught in this situation, see, our women are different than other women. Our culture is different than other cultures. So in other cultures, they're like, oh, well, you're supposed to make the money. You make the decisions. You the man, this and that. They'll say stuff, which is a lie. They'll be like, the woman wears the pants in the family. But the reality is that, he's still making decisions. He's out there, he's supposed to be in charge of everything. And she's just supposed to make things go, 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 which has some similarities to what we're talking about. However, we have this weird thing where they're doing the same thing. Like there's certain things that happen in our culture that are even bigger than that. Like in our culture, we're one of the only, if not the only cultures, when I say culture, I'm talking about a wide part of our diaspora, obviously. But we're one of the only places where it's acceptable to keep having this fight in public. That's happening on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, those who are on those platforms now. If you go to Instagram, other platforms, they're on whatever platform, there's thousands of platforms. We're one of the only cultures that it's okay to keep going out in public and saying that our men ain't nothing and our women ain't nothing. Right? Like we're having a different conversation. You say even today, many upper middle class men marry women with a bigger trust fund salary than men. Yeah, sure. That happens all the time. I mean, heck, look at the Jennifer Lopez situation. That's something that happens quite often too. How you doing, Urban Royalty? You said your husband and you put it all together. When he got sick, you worked 2 jobs. That's how you did it. Yeah. And it should be something where you put in as much as you can. You put in 100, but sometimes, I might be in a situation where I can't put in 100%. I might be, like you said, I might be sick. I might only be able to put in 10, 15%. What if I can only put in 2%? Obviously I can always put in something. If I put in 0%, probably dead or in a coma or something, but even you'd be surprised, your presence, even in a coma, might be something that causes your spouse to still say, I'm gonna kick in, but those things are there. But once again, that shouldn't be a part of our society. We've taken on other people's stuff. We've taken on other people's societies. How you doing, Hatchet Game? We've taken on other people's society, and we've taken on his story, not our story. You said his story is cruel for all women still today, especially in other countries, still with no education. I mean, if that's the case, if that's what you're saying, but see, you do some travel, you might discover that it's a lot different than what you think. I know what it is to go to another country and be in the back of a cab. This is an experience I had, right, over back home, West Africa. And to go back home and to be in the back of a cab and to my wife and I ready to go to the next place. And next thing you know, all these guys are coming yelling at the cab driver, won't let him leave. I'm trying to figure out what in the world's going on. Translator who was, fellow pastor who invited us over there to speak and stuff and was watching us and stuff like that, because you take care of your people and whoever comes over. So he's there with us, pretty much trying to be there at least every step of the way. And we're sitting there and I'm trying to figure out, do I need to take my wife out? Do I need to, and leave, go to another cab, this and that? The translator, he's looking at me trying, we're trying to figure out. Then he's listening and he lets me know what's going on. And long story short, the cab driver was being basically like 5 guys were thinking about like getting to him and like ripping them out the cab and beating them down. And where we were in Ghana is a place where you don't really see that like that on the street, but it was like it was about to go down. And like, the reason why is because there was a sister that he basically had promised something. I think either like 1 or 2 CD in American money that literally would have been like $1 or somewhere in between 50 cents to $1. It was like $1, 2 or 1 CD, 2 CD. Matter of fact, it's not even that. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It was like 50, 1 or 2 CD. So that actually would have been more like either 25 to 50 cents. But he had promised he was going to give that to the sister, and he didn't do what he said. And so the sister was cheated. And so brothers who saw it were not going to let him go ahead and make money from us. They had no beef with us, but they had beef with him because they did the sister wrong, right? There's a lot of places to where this stuff is different than what you might think. But because you have a patriarchal viewpoint only, because that's the only prism you may have, you might think that that's it. But that's why we have to come out of the system. Be ye in the system, but not of it. We have a mindset that says the only way to make it in the system is to act like others act. But that's not our way of thinking, is it? That's somebody else. Hello, Kara, how you doing? I'm sorry. You say how to overcome overthinking / worrying about what people think about you. Well, I don't know. I guess if you're talking about from a female perspective, because we're talking about the truth about our women, that's kind of a very broad question. And I don't mind trying to answer. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. It's just a very broad question. I would say first and foremost, as far as our culture, once again, like, do you know what your culture is? Like a lot of us don't have a problem with what others think of us as much as what society has told you you're supposed to be. But what society are you part of? How you doing, Sister Mary? Are you part of a society that says that you don't, who you are should not be looked at, right? Like, are you part of a society that says because you have a nose ring, you can't work a corporate job? Because even though you can take the nose ring out, you got to take a part of yourself off, right? Yeah, and other people tell us to work together as well, right? Like, are you part of a community? Like, it's real easy for other community. Like, somebody will come over from another community. You have light-skinned Cubanos and sometimes even dark-skinned Cubano people who will be, Cubano negro, Cubano Blanco, whatever, and come over and they'll be act like they're better, and we need to make sure that black people is this and blah blah, and y'all are terrible, and they even join the Proud Boys and do all types of wild stuff, right? It's a very different and difficult conversation to have with somebody like that, because they're just like, oh yeah, we came over, we worked together, this and that or whatever, which is true, they do, and they had slave masters, so they had oppressors, even though they had house Negroes and field Negroes as well. But here's the deal: is that even in your even when we're talking about it, their oppression, they still were allowed to keep language, they were allowed to keep drums, right? That's why Cubano people, they give you Afro Cubano people. When they give you 1-1 code, right? You have, if you have, right, like they call it Afro-Cuban because this right here and this right here are both African. So they got to keep that part of who they were, and they got to keep part of what was native as well. A lot of people don't even know when you do the Mardi Gras, the reason why Mardi Gras and Carnival look different is because those parades that they have, those parades they did, or what we now call parades, those were actual part of native Like those were actual native ceremonies that were there. So the trumpets and all the stuff that you see or whatever, you can actually look in Louisiana's history and you'll actually see people were doing that way before. They got to keep certain aspects of things, right? So they'll come over and be. So what I'm saying is like, you have to realize even when people say like work for yourselves and how do I get over myself? First things first, like what have you lost? What has been dismembered from you? What has been dismembered from our community? You see, you have to remember you had membership with a culture, with a language. See, you don't look right in this culture. I'm not even mad at it. See, you shouldn't look right in Eurocentric culture, right? You should still be respected, but you shouldn't look right. I shouldn't look the same as everybody else when I go to the store. You know why? Because when I go into the store, even going to the store, I'm still going into a Eurocentric storage. And the people that store things for people to buy things, do it at the hands of my people still to this day. Right? Like we are tied to something different, but I'm more than a conqueror. The conqueror looks at me and says, how does he walk in looking like himself? Because I'm more than a conqueror. See, even if you just think it's allegorical, I live by it, right? But I'm not exactly. I'm a peculiar people. I don't fit in. I'm not supposed to. I'm supposed to be the standard for others. Somebody tells me, look at myself as being somebody who's underneath, but I understand. I am great because I am under a standard that is great. So when I walk in differently, right? There's a part of a poem I love so much, it says something, and I can't remember the name of the guy who said it. It was something said way back in the day on Def Poetry Jam. Famous poet, if you know about the kind of poet game, especially in Chicago, guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he basically said, so when they come up in here and they talk about and they try to figure out how I made it out of my affliction, tell them I'm an African king who walks like an Egyptian, right? Bars. Right? Like if they try to figure out how I made it out of my affliction, tell them I'm an African king who walks like an Egyptian, right? In other words, like I walk different. I'm not supposed to look the same. And neither is my woman. Not saying my woman as far as ownership. She is my woman because she is my mother. She is my sister. She is my wife. She is my aunt. She is my grandmother. She is the reason why I exist. If she was not willing to go through a gestational period with me, then so watch this. I say my woman because she shares my culture. Now, if you're talking about my wife, see, this is the context. My wife is obviously greater than a woman. In our culture, woman is a term of endearment for any woman who goes through rites of passage and becomes something in our culture. But a wife is something different. And my wife is to be lifted up above anybody else. See, now you can see how the standard, the rules, the stuff that's in there is in play. Now we can have greater conversation. So you said the fruits of the spirit are more decadent than the foliage of the ground. Sure, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how we put that with the woman and our woman, but I guess, what is it? The love. Love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, being like Elohim, faithfulness, meekness, and temperance. You got to have love. Love for our women is what? Action towards them. The word joy, but it means to leap. So to rejoice means to keep leaping. So I need to love her, give her certain action. I need to keep leaping at the opportunity to do so. I need to be able to cause peace in her life, right? I need to make sure that I'm long suffering. If there's something she's going through, I choose to suffer through it. For the suffering of this present time, even as a husband, is not worthy to be compared to the glory that shall be revealed when my wife becomes who she's supposed to be. I'm supposed to make sure that I'm gentle. If I'm gentle enough, then I can go to a place where I can be like the Most High. If I can be like the Most High, then I can actually get to a place to where love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness. Oh, then I can be full of faith. I have faith in her and faith in her desires and faith in her laws that she sets for the tones of the house. I then can be in a place where I'm humble enough, meek enough to be able to comprehend it, and therefore what? Have temperance, have a temperament that you would call self-control when it comes to my wife. Right. So even in that, I guess we threw that in there, but even in that, it's about our women today. It's about our sisters that have been going through. It's about our sisters that haven't felt like sisters. How you doing, Sister Deja? Thanks for being on today. Right? They can't blot it out. They can't get rid of it. It's about them today. Today is a day. How you doing, Henry? Today is a day to where we need to be able to allow her to release and allow her to hear that, hey, there's some of us out there. We know what your struggle is, and we're going to bring it to the forefront. And we don't mind defending you and even putting our names and sometimes even our lives, if necessary, on there. right? Also, to see, a lot of times we'll say stuff like this. Well, these girls out here and they just dressing any kind of way and doing this and doing whatever. Guess what? Maybe she would stop doing those things if she felt secure. If she didn't have to do, if she didn't have to fight everything, then maybe she wouldn't fight her culture. How you doing, Marky Sheriff? If she didn't have to fight everything, maybe she wouldn't fight her culture. How about that? If she didn't have to fight you, do you know what it is to have the DNA memory of watching people come off the ship, to have a chieftain and men that are supposed to secure you, and then all of a sudden be empathetic, take off your own stuff and put on somebody else's just for a second so you can feel different and see different. Maybe close your eyes and imagine what I'm saying. Because do you not know what it would feel like if you would just be empathetic? Just think about it and put yourself in somebody else's shoes, that literally you were safe and secure. Next thing you know, you are a slave. And by the way, for those who haven't been, I've been to Elmina Castle, the slave castles, the slave coast over there, right? And to be in that position where you can still today, not yesterday, not hundreds of years ago, if you were to go over there today, there was so much mistreatment of the people. You can still smell the people. You can still smell urine and fecal matter in the places that they were held in. And they were not held in cages that were indoors. They were held in cages to where if it rained, you got it. If it was sunny, you got it. And I won't even go to the men's section. Men's section was right there. You can see both from where you are. Then they had a church, by the way. There were church services that were still being held. You can stand in the church and look at how you can stand in the church and see the women that are about to get raped and see the men that might get raped or might get killed. And you'll be sitting there smelling this stuff. Now, I can only imagine when the people were there. You can still smell it when you go there. Elmina Castle specifically, that castle I'm talking about right now. And when you look, you'll see when you walk down on the first level, right after you've gone across the moat and everything, you'll walk over and you come inside, and to the left, there'll be the place where the sisters were kept in prison, right? They were just free not too long ago, now kept in prison. Their protectors are on the other side. They can hear them and see them, but they can't get to them, right? Above the sisters is the governor or whatever they call the guy over Elmina Castle. He has a stairway that goes from the slave women or the slave property, whatever, and it goes up in a spiral staircase up to his room. That place right there, that was where my wife almost lost it, and we had to start addressing the guy, because even some of the African tribes over there, they still have such hatred for each other. They've been taught that they still don't even really care. So the guy who was giving the tour, he was just like saying it, no matter where it was, like he didn't care about the people there. Maybe because he does the tour so much, but my wife was starting to get like irritated with this cat, right? And we started to lose it, but like she was really like kind of like, I don't even know, I don't want to be here. Like she had already told me, I don't know if I want to do it, I'm gonna be pissed off, this and that. But I was just like, I had been telling her it was something I wanted to experience. I want to go to the point of no return. There's a place there literally called the point of no return, to where like people would go out that hole. Once you went out that hole out on the side of the building, you weren't coming back. And so a lot of us go back to that point of no return, because that was a place where all over a lot of places of Africa, they brought you there before they shipped you out. So a lot of people from all over the diaspora, they come to that particular place and they lay a wreath or put something there. They say a prayer there to let to even those of you who believe in such things, to let your ancestors know, or bare minimum, just to have peace within yourself and to be able to say like, hey, I came back. They said I wasn't going to return, but I'm here. Yeah, my wife saying, they had a place of such energy. She could feel the ancestors screaming out. Like I'm telling you, like it's spooky. It's like, if you're going to go there, you got to be ready. Like you're going to have an experience, because they're even going to have places where they're going to lock you inside places. Now this is on the male side, but they'll lock you in when the males didn't act right. Basically be subservient. They would just put you in this hole, in a hole, right? Like you have a hole in prison. They put you in there. There was a little hole that somebody had dug out where there was some light, like up high. It was like really small. And, like you have like the thin light, right? But they put you in there. And then when you close it, you're in there and you just sitting in there as a group. These people be in there by themselves. We were in there as a group, and you feel all types of ways about the situation within minutes, right? They let you in there. You're in there for a little significant time because they want you to feel it, right? But when they open the door and you come out, you'll see markings and stuff where people have carved out prayers asking for help or even asking for vengeance from whomever it is that they serve in the spirit. Right? And thank you for that, Oakley. I'm sorry. I didn't see a comment from a while ago. I don't know if you're still on with us, right? Right? The blood's still crying up from the ground. Amen. Right? So then after that happens, though, after that happens, see, watch this. Remember I said that spiral staircase? So women were picked. By the way, they would be in wallowing sometimes in their own fecal matter. You would be on a chain, usually 5 people to a chain at a time. They put it around your neck and stuff. You might have it around your ankles and stuff too. If somebody died, guess what? Until they decided to move the person, that person died or was dying, they were laying in filth. They were laying in waste. They were laying in urine. They were laying in fecal matter. And it just was what it was. Like, that's how terrible it is. And you see all that. You can smell all that. And then they had that spiral staircase. So if the master wanted, he would say, hey, I want to sleep with that one. And if that one, who's supposed to be protected by her man, who sees her, but he can't help her. Think about that. Yeah, my wife said she wanted to hurt somebody in that castle. You go there, you got to have your emotions in check, because you might try to chin check somebody for real, right? But the man who was under the church, so the church was on top of the man, and then the man and the church had to watch these women from across. And let's say the woman, if she wants to live, she gonna go ahead and go up the spiral staircase, still smelling like crap and stuff. Maybe they wipe her down a little bit. Maybe they hosed her off or something. But she gonna go up that spiral staircase to have sex with that man, right? The governor, whatever his position is. If she decided not to, though, this was the wild part for me. If she decided not to, you know what they had for her? And you still see it today. They left it there. You can see it. They used the same one for everybody. If she decided not to do that, there was a big, they're not even that big, but cannonballs are bigger and heavier than what y'all think they are, right? Y'all see in the movies people doing all this stuff with cannonballs and stuff. They're heavier than what you really think. They have a cannonball there, basically, that's a little bigger than the norm. And they would put it on this woman's ankles. If she decided she wasn't going to listen, she wasn't going to get raped, she wasn't going to do whatever, guess what? They put the chain around her ankle. Hear what I'm saying? They put the chain around her ankle. And then they just left her there in the sun against the concrete. That's what they did. They left her there. They put her in the sun. They left her there in the sun by the concrete. By the way, this castle that they had, it used to be a Hebrew castle. If you go and check out stuff, the tribe of Judah, or it's called the Kingdom of Judah. Somebody actually got me. Praise y'all for brother. Well, I don't know if I have the right to be able to say his name on here. He didn't tell me if I could say, but my brother just got me a nice gift. I guess it was for my born day. We finally were able to get to the place where it was mailed, and the map I've been telling y'all about. They got the map. I got a nice little map now, official map I can show y'all. I don't have it with me. Maybe I'll run inside and get it, right, to show you where Negro land was, like he's talking about in West Africa, and it says on there this is where Judah was and all that stuff. And that's not even one of the ones that actually, even though it's great, it's awesome. There's one that I'm looking for that even has more information about us than that on it. But in all that, this was a map, or this was a kingdom of Judah. This was a castle of Judah. These were people being brought into that place and all that wickedness. And they would let that woman burn there. They would let her cook in the sun, so that every woman that saw her cook and slowly die from that point on, if they saw her die or heard her crying turn into wails, heard her wailing turn into being frantic, saw her being frantic to her body's not moving that much, saw her body not moving that much, so you could barely hear her voice, heard her voice go from a voice to a whisper, heard her whisper go from a whisper into eyes rolling, saw the eyes rolling to the whispers of the soul even being there, saw the soul and the spirit detached from the body. And they saw that happen in front of them. Guess what? Right? You're going to do whatever the slave master says at that point. That's the reality. When you're talking about the white woman social construct versus the black woman social construct, you're having a different conversation. Right? And you can choose to be mentally free, but a lot of black and white women, by the way, and black men and white men continue to be lift that up. But there's a different conversation we're having. The culture. One culture says that I'm over you. The other culture says that I'm not over it. The other culture that became victors, that made you victims, said get over it. You say, well, you're over me. How can I get over it? Did y'all catch that? Somebody who's over you says, get over it. But they're victors because they made you victims. They say you got a victim in time, they got a victim in time. They say, get over it and be like us. They say, well, the only way we can be like you is to be free. Our sisters that say, hey, I'd like to be free. I'd like to be secure. They're telling us, I'd like for you guys to stop telling us, who we, I have to be like her. All these black men out here talking foolishness. I'm gonna give me a white woman because she does blah blah this and that or whatever. White women are out here asking to make sure that they can treat other people like slaves, like their white counterparts are. Why do you want one of those? If you're not gonna help her to become a slave owner, she probably gonna leave you alone at some point. You better and see a lot of black men, they comprehend. We get it. If you're gonna get you a white woman, for those of you who had that weird context that you got to get you a white woman, I don't know what that is. If you like a woman that you consider to be white, here's the deal. Learn about the culture because you know the deal. You know that if you're gonna be with her, you got to give up on your culture. That's why you act so bad and talk so terrible about your own women. Your mama's one of them too, and so are your sisters, so is your aunt, so is your grandmama. But you don't care about that. You just want to make sure that you fit in. Why? Because you comprehend that you ain't gonna be able to get what you want from white society if you don't make sure that you treat your people like trash. And you know it. You know it. You know it. Deep down inside, you know that trashing somebody just because of the color of their skin is bad. That's why I'm not trashing somebody just because they're white. I told you today I'm representing a certain group of people. It doesn't mean that white women, social construct, white women don't deserve love and don't deserve respect and can't be treated, with the reality of freedom and be grafted even to what it is that we're trying to do. I'm not saying any of that because any of that would be idiotic and it would be foolish and it would be something that we should throw that into the pit of hell. Not the person, but that ideology, most definitely, right? However, if somebody's not willing to learn my culture, then what in the world are we doing together? See, that's part of learning what marriage is. That's why we talked about yesterday, truth about marriage. How are you going to be married to something that you don't know? And you're trying to disavow your knowledge? You're trying to act like you don't even have anything? Yeah, it goes against universal law. Like you're trying to act like you've never seen the experience. Thank you for the love. You're trying to act like you've never seen your mama out there crying because of how people treat her just because of the color of her skin. You saying you ain't never seen that? You ain't never seen one of your sisters out here saying help? You ain't never seen police officers do stuff to your woman that they would never do to a white male? I mean, you've never seen any of that. Well, that happens from time to time, but it happens to white people too. See, that's when it becomes a place to where our sisters can't get any help. Amen, Sister Mary. Our sisters feel like they can't get any help. Mejorar I don't know why I can never say that word right. Mejorar la raza. I don't know why I can't say it. La raza. La raza. Better the race if you marry white. I didn't know that was a saying. Let me screenshot that. I never heard that before. Thank you. I never heard that saying before. But we're dealing with something dangerous. We're dealing with something that's dangerous. We have a lot of people who are not willing to talk about those things. We're not willing to go through those things. We're not willing to listen to our sisters. Sorry, TikTok. Somebody trying to call me again. But we have a lot of people who are not willing to listen to our sisters. Like not willing to listen to that. Amen on the way. That the phrase is so deeply embedded with colorism is Latino society. Yeah, I never heard that one. I'm gonna try it. I don't know why I have a problem with the RAZA in Spanish. I really do. I don't know what that's about. but I'm gonna try and get that. I'm gonna try and learn that one and keep that in my mindset because I never heard that one before. I think I might have heard now that you say it, I might have heard it once when I was being babysat or something like that. I used to have a politicano, babysitter that was politicano. But you hear what I'm saying? Like, it's a reality. It's like, it means it can loosely be interpreted as improve the race. So I'll study it to see. But I'm just saying overall, like you have to realize those things. Like, and now, like you said, I've seen a lot of that where black men now start blaming their black mothers. That's taking it to another level too, where you have now black brothers who are like they've been hearing so long that it's the black woman's fault. And by the way, It's not her fault, but she was taught that she was supposed to try and take the place of a man. That's why she was taught from Willie Lynch days, strong, independent black woman. That's what you were taught, right? That's what you were told. I can see that being very common saying for Dominicano, just because of the whole Dominicano, Haiti dynamic, Spain, England, French, all that stuff. Yeah, so it definitely makes sense on that level too, right? So but you have now a lot of black men who have grown up hearing nothing except it's your sister's fault, it's your mama's fault. Don't take any accountability, black man. It's her fault. It's her fault. It's her fault. If she would get herself together, if she would get her life together, if she would stop being this, but she's not secure. All the other women that you keep bringing up, they're secure. I know that you think that they talking bad about their white men and feminism, but guess what? The feminist is still married to the person that she says is the patriarch. And she's still gonna get paid for it. And she still realizes that if she gets a divorce, she's gonna be able to take half and this and that or whatever. She's still taken care of by the same society that's patriarchal, because the patriarchy doesn't care. And the true patriarchy are the people that you can't touch. The real patriarchy are the people that you've never heard their names. You think that John over there, who's KKK, waving the rebel flag and living in the trailer park, that's how you see him, right? That's how we see it in our mind. You think that that's the patriarchy. He ain't got no money either. You know what I'm saying? He thinks that he's better than you because he's white, but he will never really affect you a day in your life unless you go through where he lives. You hear what I'm saying? Like, he will never go anywhere close to you. You will never go anywhere close to him, right? You might come across him from time to time, but look, I lived right next door to KKK country. Like, literally, I lived at one point to where if I walked 2 minutes and went across a certain street, I was going to literally be in KKK country. But I knew, as long as I don't go here, or if I'm going through there, go through it in the day. Make sure, and if you can't make it back before night, it's a sun downtown. Make sure that you stay your behind on that side. I don't care if you sleep on the ground. Make sure you stay your behind over there so that the next day you can travel real quick through by car, right? I've been chased by KKK before. I've gone to school in high school and had to deal with KKK in the high school. I comprehend how that stuff works. And I'm talking about in the North, the South, the East, and the West. I'm talking about another country. I've been to Belgium. I've seen that mentality. I've gone through other European countries. I never really stayed over in Europe like that, but gone through. I've seen people do that in Naples, Italy. I've seen it happen with the way people are treated even in Japan. I've seen it happen with the way people are treated in Brazil. I've seen, all these different places. I've seen it with Puerto Rico. I've seen it I've never been to, these places or whatever. I have family or people who are like family who have enlightened me on some of these places. But I'm just telling you, like, I'm aware of all those things, right? I know those things, right? I've seen, some of these things up close and personal, right? In Pennsylvania, I mean, which way you want to go? You want to talk about Pittsburgh? You want to talk about Lancaster? It's even in Philly, like in Philly, you got cats that'll yell something out real quick. The outskirts of Philly be something monstrous too sometimes, depending on where you go, right? Everywhere you go, like, this stuff is there, right? This stuff is there. It's just about everywhere that we're going to go, right? But what I'm saying is that you might not see it in that. That's not who your patriarchy really is. The people that's messing up the sisters are the people that control the system. The question is, are you going to be able to, is it easy? Let me just put it like this. Is it easier for us to take control of the system? Hear what I'm saying? Is it easier for us to take control of the system, or is it easiest for us to just come out of the system? There's a system already set up where our sisters deserve respect. Right? There's a system already set up where our sisters deserve respect. Do you want to stay in this system, or do you want to come out of it? If you want to come out of it, are you willing to make sure your sister can come with you? Are you willing to make sure your mama can come with you? Your daughter can come with you? Right? And even if you say, well, I don't have this, I don't have that, start working towards coming together, even physically. Even physically. Start working on coming together. Right? Start working on coming together. Right? Like, virtually, this is what this space really started for, was, hey, can we have a spot to where our people can be heard? That's how this started. Kofi_40, the original page, before they took that down. Then number 2, then Kofi_43, which we're using today, and Kofi_44 if we need to eventually go to that, right? And by the way, make sure y'all are prepared for that one, and make sure, because if we don't have 1,000, if they try to take this one down, try to take down the other one, we still got a place we can go while we wait for the others to back up. That's why we have a second YouTube channel now. We're starting all over again. That's why on Facebook we got multiple things we have to start over with. Instagram pretty much has just been sitting. Twitter I don't even use anymore, right? But they tried their best to decimate it, but it's because virtually we found little niche in there to where we can have the virtual community. Then it started coming into let's visit each other. We started coming together in little places. Now we're going to start working to to end this year, #finish strong. We're going to end and making sure we actually see each other, whether I'm there or not, because y'all can meet up with each other. This is why we're working on getting that land together, getting food. Next year now, y'all been growing your own food. That's what y'all been saying. We saw some of it up close in person. Some of y'all sent pictures, all this different stuff. Okay, now that you got all these things in order, guess what? Now next year, we ain't got no excuse. Send some seed. Meet with somebody that's an hour away. Switch some food. Hey, I grow a whole bunch of onions. You grow a whole bunch of potatoes. Look, here's a potato. If you can get this in your yard, if you can get this in a pot, if you can go buy a big old container, just buy one of them big old, what do you call it, barrels, or I forget what kind of barrel, but like, the big blue barrels, if you ever seen those, I don't know if that makes sense, but you can buy them places for like $20, $30, something like that. Buy one, put a bunch of dirt in it, take that potato somebody grew and make sure that it grows. Once that thing grows and it gets root after root after root after root, you can't stop a potato from growing. Drums, yeah, the drums, right? What I'm saying is all these places, it doesn't matter what country. I mean, we focus mostly on the United States of America because that's where I'm called to the most, but we got people in Ghana, we got people in Kenya, we got people in India. We're trying to get some stuff going on in South America. We're trying to get some, I guess technically we have people in Canada. We probably got, 5, 6 people in Canada, a couple of them in Toronto, no, a couple of them in Ottawa, one of them maybe in Montreal. I don't know my territories that well. There's a few of them in another place I can't remember. But we got some. What I found this out by accident because I went the wrong way, which is an interesting thing. But like come to find out that one of them lives not too far from Detroit, and didn't even realize I can go over that way. So, but we need to make sure that we do these things, right? Like we need to make sure that we do these things. We have people in all over the place. I mean, and even if there's nobody there, you might be the first, and then somebody else happens. Like there's a few people over in the San Fran area. We only really thought there was one, and then it turned out that one was 2 different families. Then it turned out 2 was like 3 different families. Then it turned out there was somebody else, but they're not really in San Fran. Found out they were South California. But there's a lot of people like it ends up like that. Georgia kind of blew up on us out of the Carolinas kind of blew up out of nowhere. We got people in, I thought it was people in New York City. Come to find out it was like one person in New York City. Everybody else was in upstate New York. So when we go up that way again, probably won't be for a while because we're taking some break of traveling. We've been traveling a whole lot this year. However, like there's places over here. Oh, you got people in Illinois, Chi-Town area. You got people in the D. We got a lot of people in the Detroit area. We even have a pastor that supports stuff. So y'all could probably even support them, they support y'all, and y'all could probably have a meeting place where y'all can come together on a regular basis. Even on a Saturday, who knows? You have to talk to them. I have obviously connection with them, but talk to them, talk to each other. We have each other's phone numbers. We celebrate holy days. Like there's so many different places. If you're somebody, we got like 3 or 4 people in, I think, Missouri. I don't know Missouri that well, so I can tell you who's close to what. We have people in Indiana. We have wherever, it's almost getting to a place wherever you can think of. Right? like wherever you can think, it's almost getting to a place. It's like almost whatever you can think of is what we're ending up about to have. So if that's the case, it's now it's the season for us to live inside of that which we have pursued. We have people in Tennessee. I think for the most part, it's Memphis, Millington, and maybe something else. Right? So at this point, it's time for us, exactly, amen. The seeds are being dropped. It's harvest time now. But you got to still till the ground. You still got to water, right? But Yahweh, he's going to give the increase. It's time for us. And I don't have to be at every single thing or whatever. I'm just a vessel like anybody else's. And we have ministerial staff. If you think you got to have a minister for it, okay, cool. We got ministerial staff all over the place too. We got people in H-Town, right? H-Town. And we got people that live in Dallas. I thought everybody actually lived in Dallas, but we got a few people in H-Town, in Dallas. We got some people in H-Town. They came down from Dallas to H-Town. Did couple hours travel or whatever. I don't know if we have anybody in Vegas. We do have people that come through Vegas though. We were in Vegas this year, but it was more so just we were trying to get a rest in between place. But you never know. You never know. You never know. And that's why, hey, get us your information if you're interested in being part of our community. Because I'm about to give up the reins. I'm about to say, not give up the reins, I'm still going to be around. But I'm saying, as far as like me having to do everything, I've been slowly doing it. We had some backtracks on stuff, but we got 10 people on the ministerial staff besides myself. Right. My wife and I technically together. So you could say, okay, we got 9 people besides us, right? Myself, Elder Maya, and then everybody else, right? But there's 9 of us. So that means that, we ain't really got to do anywhere close to as much as we did. Oh, Germany in the house, what's up? We seem to be getting Germany recently. We've been having some people back from England. By the way, we got people in England. That used to be a big deal. We used to, before they took us down, probably had a bunch of people in England. We probably had thousands of people that were over in Ireland. And they took down the channel. Ever since then, we haven't been able to build it back up. So I'm just telling you, there's people, this thing is bigger than what we think it is. It's funny now. My wife and I, when we go places, we get recognized. So that's interesting, but it's not about, we're trying to make sure that we make it weird. I kind of feel weird about that because it's not about us. It's really not. It's about all of us coming together, and we got to start realizing, recognizing. You'd be surprised. Some of these people on here that have been blessed and their businesses being blessed and growing and things like that. You'd be surprised. There's a few of us out there that are doing things that are ready to help people, and probably even depending on what your talents are, or your gifts are, your callings are, or even if you're willing to maybe become like a apprentice in certain areas or whatever, you might be surprised. Somebody out here might be able to bless you for years to come. Right? Oh, thank you, Mr. Shante. Right? Maya is as well. She is as well. And I'm thankful for this opportunity, but I'm here to tell you, in all those things, once again, we're going to set this up correct. Let me get this back on track. Holy Spirit said it's sounding like it's too much about you. And it is. Amen. We're here to make sure that even when we come together as a community, our sisters are going to come first. You hear that? They got to come first, because unfortunately, they ain't coming at all. Eventually, it'll be where our men and our sisters can come together. But right now, they got to come first. You know why? Because everything's coming out the womb. You hear that? Right now, everything that's happening with us is coming out the womb. There's no peace in the womb. They're not even trying to let you get out the womb yet. Now they're trying to kill you before you get out the womb. I can't even get out the womb. Nope. But by the way, that's something that was happening in slavery times as well, chattel slavery times as well. Chattel slavery still exists, but you know what I'm saying. It's something that's going to the 1860s. It's something that's going through the early 1900s, to where they still were killing us all. They were literally locking their women down to beds, having people hold them down if necessary. Still saying the same stuff they teach in nursing and stuff, and saying, "Oh, that's just her tripping." Black women can't feel pain like white women can. They still teach that in books today. Like, at some point, you got to realize how destitute it is. Right? Society that that our women live in is a destitute place. It is dusty. It's like tumbleweeds going on. There ain't nothing going on for them. And I don't care about rich, poor, all that, because you know what I've experienced. I have enough experience now. I've seen sisters middle class. I've seen sisters rich. I've seen sisters poor. I've seen sisters on the street. I've seen sisters that say, "I don't need no man." I've seen the sisters that say they need the man. And I promise you, there ain't nothing in this system going on to help them. That's why we got to come out of it. Yeah, Elion, like that's real. They put it in there. Melanated, they say melanated people with melanated women, they can't feel pain. So guess what happens? Now you experiment on the babies. And I was in the late 90s. By the way, people say, "Hey, you're talking about stuff that was so long ago." That's the 90s. But I'm talking about in 2022. And guess what? Next year in 2023, still, you will find textbooks out there where women who are becoming nurses and doctors and all this stuff will tell you specifically that that's the case. Amen. And I like the way you put that, Minister Shante, because it is about preserving the white race while experimenting based on black construct. Once again, it makes sense if you believe in Darwinism, because Darwin taught you what? That it's about, what's the name of his book? The Origin of Species, the Theory of Evolution, by means of natural selection, or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. And so if you feel like a black woman deserves to die because she is not as evolved as a white woman, then why would you think they have the same fight? You said our men have to stop matching the sister's feminine energy. that's based on frustration. Sure, no problem. Sure, yeah. That's why we say all the time that black men have been trained to act like white women, and black women have been trained to act like white men. So we're not even in the system. Once again, in this system, what did Willie Lynch say? Reverse your nature. And he said, don't have them not to be the natural N word. He said, don't be like the natural nigga, right? He said, don't let the natural niggas. He said, if you get the natural nigga to go take to his place, he's dangerous. She's dangerous. He said, reverse the nature to where the man now that he's been with. Remember, I was talking about the experience earlier. This is what he said. He said, treat him like you treat the horse. You ever read the Willie Lynch letter? See, people are so busy telling you that it's not real that a lot of y'all ain't reading it no more. Yeah, we got to come from among them and be separate. And this is a rebirth, birthing season of being born again, right? But remember, hey, I said, thank you for the reference, Hatchet game, right? Like you got to remember remember, Willie Lynch said, hey, let's treat them like horses. You got to train the mare to be able to eat out the palm of your hand, and you might have to kill the wildest horse. So he said, in the same manner, he said, when they come off the ship, don't even, or when you take them from their tribe, whatever you're doing, he said, when they come in, he said, look for the chieftain, right? Hear what I'm saying? He said, look for the chieftain. He said, look for the strongest brother out there, because that used to be what we looked at. I'm not saying we didn't have any queens. I'm not saying that we didn't have any Nzingas. I'm not saying we didn't have any Nefertiti's. I'm not saying we didn't have any Ties. I'm not saying we didn't have any Khalifas. I'm not saying we didn't have any Shebas. The list goes on and on. I'm not saying we didn't have any of them. What I'm saying is that they knew that when it came down to it and they had captured a tribe, they said, look for the strongest brother. Because just because they're in captivity doesn't mean that they're captivated yet. Did you catch that? Did you catch that? Just because they're captivity, read it for yourself. Willie Lynch letter, get a PDF, read it for yourself. But he made it a point to say, look, just because they're not, and I'm using different language, but he's basically said you got to treat them like the horse. And it's because just because somebody's captured and somebody's captive, it doesn't mean they're captivated. Right? And we don't see that. Right? That there are that when you say, like, look at this. They'll say, oh, you know what? He out there, he won't just get a regular job. Why he always hustling? Why he doing this? You know why? Because the hustler is really trying to figure out a way to do it outside the system. He's trying his best to get outside the system. Right? He's trying to get outside the system. He's saying this don't make sense for us. And so you call him rambunctious. You say he doesn't fit in. You say he rocks the boat. Slave talk. You always rocking the boat. You don't just go along. You just won't come on in. You just won't be like Master So-and-so says. Right? You always rocking the boat. Right? He's too aggressive. He's too masculine. His masculinity is toxic. He's a crab in the barrel, as if crabs are supposed to be in barrels. Crabs in their nature, they're clingy. They take on. They want to make sure that everybody comes with them. They want to make sure we all go to the same feeding ground. We follow one another in our nature, but you put us in a bucket. Now in our nature, we do the same thing, but now it pulls people down. But you shouldn't have been in the bucket. Yeah, we were told he lazy. He not there. Why is his hair looking like that? Oh, he didn't get a haircut. He didn't get the shape up. He ain't do this. Oh, he must not be doing this. Look, he got bad credit. Credit, by the way, is supposed to mean that I paid you something, and that therefore I'm getting stuff out of what I already paid you. Instead, we think credit means to go into debt. Somebody looks at it, he says that don't even make sense. If somebody has credit with me, that means that they already paid me, and I'm just letting them do what they already paid me for. Y'all are telling me that's something different. He said, I don't want to deal in credit. Now you say, I can't be with him because he ain't got good credit. Right? That's what we do. We're going on to stuff. So he said in slave time, he said, you go after the biggest, strongest dude. He's problematic. He says, if we let him last too long, eventually somebody gonna listen to him. If we let him out here, eventually somebody gonna pick up on what he's saying. If we let him in this culture, eventually somebody gonna, change. So we've got to figure out how to keep this person down, how to keep this male energy down, right? And this is part of what's wrong with the sisters today. I'm not saying sisters you're wrong. I'm saying we don't even realize where these terms came from. Watch this. So he's supposed to make sure, he's supposed to be rambunctious. He's supposed to be jealous of you going into another community. Why? Because it messes up his community. He's supposed to say, if you're going to be with somebody else, make sure that they learn your culture and they teach our children that. He's supposed to say, hey, we should not be captivated even if we're captives. He's not supposed to fit in. So what did they do? They could have just killed him, or they could have just sold him away. You would have thought that would have been fine. But guess what? If you sell him away, somebody else is not going to buy into that brother or buy that brother. Why? Because he's dangerous to whatever system you sell him into. So what do? They kill him, but they kill him in a particular fashion. Once again, they treat him like a male horse. Matter of fact, they use male horses to be able to kill him, or female horses in this case. They might use either or. But they treat him like they treated a wild horse. That's what they said. And they said that they took him in front of everybody. They looked for the one who was the most standoffish, the one that said, I'm not going for this. This is why you better pray for your leadership. Not just Kofi, other than I appreciate your prayers as well, but you better pray and support these leaders out here who are putting their faces out here for you, and stop letting people just go ahead for them, because they're trying to kill them off, even if it's just in the mentality, even if it's just taking away their money, even if it's just taking away their ability to be able to give back to you in any way, shape, or form. You better make sure, if you got a father out there that's willing to fight for you, you better make sure that you support that. If you got a husband that's out there, because he's trying to make sure, it's part of making sure that you as a sister are secure, right? But he said they would take the strongest man. This is what they said. You go and you get the strongest brother. You get the strongest man that's out there. What do? You take him and you basically do what with him? You actually beat him in front of everybody, including the other men. You make sure the other men see this too. Make sure that the women see this. Make sure the children see this. Right? We talked about Kyrie a few days ago, so we got him on the YouTube channel. Maybe we can talk about him again. But Kyrie, if you hear what I'm saying about now, then you'll obviously feel like what I feel about the Kyrie session or Kyrie stuff going on, in all honesty. So you take him in front of everybody else and you kill him in front of everybody. But first you beat him down. Don't just kill him, because to kill him, just, okay, well, you killed him. That's bad. But see, you need to leave this etched in people's mind. People need to have this, like when they smell, they need to smell what's about to happen to. When they see, when they close their eyes, they need to have on the back of their eyelids just nothing but this stuff. They need to feel in their gut. When they have gut instincts, they need to receive even his guts. This is about to get crazy, by the way, if you haven't heard this before. So I give you the opportunity, if you need to go ahead, time out, peace out, take some time off, take maybe 10 minutes off, come back, whatever. But this stuff is real. Right? So they say, okay, we beat him down in front of everybody, but that's not enough. They said, then we'll tar and feather him. Tar and feather him. We're gonna if you tar and feather somebody, what is that saying? They're saying that they're basically saying that you ain't nothing, you just chicken, but also a chicken is a coward. Now, here's a strong man, and now they made him out to be a coward. And isn't it interesting? People are talking about Kyrie and Kanye, whatever other people you want to put on there, calling them cowards. Is it cowardice to go against the system? You a coward. They got to find a way to call him Kyrie a coward. So you didn't play enough basketball games to even talk about this. What does one have to do with the other? Colin Kaepernick, you go ahead and you signed a deal, so you can't even come out and say what happened publicly, whatever. So since you won't speak on what you're saying, I mean, how are we supposed to help you? Trying to call him a coward. They find the strongest of us, the ones that say we're not going to do it. They totally got rid of. Some of y'all don't even remember Chris Jackson, who turned into Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. He was the original Steph Curry. Like, if you want to talk about Steph Curry before Steph Curry, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, if he keeps playing, Steph Curry probably still gets the record because the way the game was going. But if you're talking about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, the Denver Nuggets probably become the Golden State Warriors. You know, like, if you know about Craig Hodges in basketball, that's the NBA, that's the 90s. Both of them, because they didn't want to bow down to the American flag, both of them get kicked out all of a sudden. But you think that the National Basketball Association is the most progressive place in the world? No, it's not. They won't let somebody make and by the way, we shouldn't make anti-Semitic comments, but Kyrie Irving is a Shemite. So, but they canceled him, and they're gonna make sure he doesn't play 5 more games. And then after that, they probably after this year gonna find a way to make sure he doesn't stay in the league. Meanwhile, though, they can have games where you listening to the lyrics where people say the N-word, because they don't care about race. I don't care about you. But see what I'm saying? But this is how our women feel. This is how our sisters feel. But anyway, let's keep on going. I just want you to see how this stuff happened. I want you to see how this stuff happened, right? Right? You ready for this? Then after that, now you go to a place where he says, okay, you tar and feather them, make them look like cowards, make fun of them, do all this stuff, right? Now, after that, it says that's not enough. It says now we're going to tie him to two horses, his legs. So we're going to make him do a split. What is that doing? When you strip them naked, you beat him down, you've tarred and feathered him. Now you're going to put his legs out on two horses in front of everybody. This is showing a man's nakedness. This is saying that we can get to the most intimate part of you. And so guess what? Your man, who really only his wife, his woman should know the most intimate part of who he is. We're saying that we're going to show it to everybody. And we're going to say that he is absolutely nothing, even his most intimate parts. Right? They're literally going to tell us about all these things and tell us that it's okay to do whatever, say whatever, treat him however. That's the person who's above you. That's the person who's supposed to be the chieftain. That's supposed to be the person who's the leader. That's supposed to be the person who leads the environment. He's supposed to defend you with his life. And they say, well, if he's willing to give his life, we're going to show you it's not going to be in defense. See, if he gives his life, but it's not in defense, you're going to assume that he didn't die defending you. Then even what's the point of his death? Then it says that while he's attached to the two horses, they're going to make sure that they put him on fire. They're still not even done with him yet. You would be like, put him out in there. No, now we're going to burn him. Now he's already burnt up with tar, but now we're going to burn him. We can't just like this just can't be. We got to eviscerate this man because he dared be in his culture and say that he would defend you. See what I'm saying? They're so busy telling you you're the patriarchy, but they don't even want to admit that the patriarchy burned your man alive. And we're not even finished yet, though, because then they tell the horses that the horses aren't outright afraid of the fire that they started. The horses run away and tear them apart because they don't want to get burned, or you hit the horse and the horse runs away in both directions. And while this is happening, while the other men, the women and children have to watch it, they didn't stop there because just in case there was a man that might get pissed off, so forgive my language, just in case there was a man, though, I don't believe that'd be cuss word, but forgive my language, because there might have been a man that was angry, upset, frustrated. And maybe he might want to do something. Maybe a child might want to do something. Maybe a wife might want to do something. Maybe somebody in there might raise their child to take vengeance. You know what they did? They said, while he's being ripped apart, we're going to whip every other man there in front of the women too. But you don't whip them till they die, just only to the point of death. Why did they say they only did it to the point of death? They said, why? They said, because he represents, and I quote, good economics, unquote. Don't kill him, but make sure you beat him to where he can barely live, but let him live. And when he comes back, he's going to work for you for the rest of his life. Right? Once he finishes hitting you and doing that, all that stuff, Willie Lynch's next comment is even more disturbing than what just happened. You would think that what I just explained is one of the most vicious and unnecessary and crazy things. You would think that's the worst part of it. But this is now the worst part is in the mind. Willie Lynch told you from that point on, he said, what you have done is you have successfully reversed their nature. Just like if we did it to the wild horse and the mare, he said, the mare eats right out of your hand now. And he said that the black woman has seen the strongest man be ripped from her. She has now seen the rest of her men be beat down. She says that we've now reversed, and he says now the nature is reversed to where the black men that survive, they will cower behind the black woman and just do what's necessary. They will be there for labor, they will be there for breeding, and they won't worry about anything else, right? He said, meanwhile, you have now left a strong, independent female. And he would have said N-word female, but a strong, independent female, because they didn't consider you to be women, they consider you to be property. And he said, after that, she will literally eat out of your hand like the mare does, while simultaneously telling you that she's actually strong and independent. And he said, now what will happen, because she sees herself as being strong and independent, while the reality is she must eat out of our hand because she's not secure. He said now she will raise her son in that same reverse nature as she will raise her daughter. He said, don't worry about the first generation. He said the next generation is what's important. He said, because now, since she is the center of this, she will keep teaching her daughter after daughter after daughter after daughter. They will be in this perpetual state of independence coming out of fear. And she will continue to teach her son because she doesn't want her to see what happened to the chieftain and to the other men happen to her son. She will always teach her son to make sure that he's not ready to protect his woman. And this is part of the problem, to where there can be no security if there is no place where men can be respected and women can be secure. According to our culture, this culture says you are supposed to reverse your nature. You don't fit into this civilization because your civilization is different than this civilization. Right? We're trying our best to live as part of somebody's civilization, and it's not ours. Right? It's not our civilization. Of course, women can be hung from trees and nobody's going to say anything because it's not ours. Like it's not a place where your sister is supposed to feel great. Right? Like it's not, we're in a situation where we're not supposed to feel needed. I don't need no man. What other, and I'm sorry to use social construct, but let's just keep it 100. What other race keeps coming out and telling y'all how they don't need no man? Even the lesbian doesn't necessarily believe she don't need no man. She might even say it, but you know what? She looks for a masculine female. She looks for a female that tries to act as much like a man in every way. She just ain't got the equipment. She buys it, and she thinks that the fake equipment is just as great as the real. She even tries to carry a man's seed, even if she won't lay down with a man. Right? Like you are dealing with some people that say that I'm straight, I'm heterosexual, and yet for some reason I shall not lay down, or I shall not respect the person I lay down with. It's because you don't feel like he deserves respect, because to give him respect makes sure that he will die. Like that's what the mindset is. That's the DNA memory. That is the lineage. You hear what I'm saying? That's the lineage that we're living in. It's a lot. Right? That's the lineage that we're in. Right? What we're passing down is literally, if I respect a man, he could die. If he becomes Malcolm, he might end up like Malcolm. If he becomes Martin, he might end up like Martin. If he becomes Marcus, he might end up like Marcus. If he becomes Frederick, he might end up like Frederick. Now, some of y'all say, well, Frederick died a peaceful life, but look at how Frederick's life ended. It wasn't necessarily peaceful. He just didn't have as many problems. Like, we have a mindset because we don't have our own system. We keep saying, I want him to live in some other system, but the best systems you've ever had for your people, sisters and brothers, the best systems you've ever had have been in segregation, or when it's been your own tribes or kingdoms. I know we don't want to recognize it, but that's real. So the tactics are real. That's a tough picture to digest. It is, yeah. And we've been turned against our own nature. Right? When we had our own tribes, this was not a problem, was it? By the way, it wasn't not a problem for you. It wasn't a problem for others. When Moors were going to England, and they were going to France, and they were going to Spain and Portugal and all these places, right? If they built universities there, Croatia, even when they built universities there, Russia, when they helped Russia to even make sure, Gannibal is considered to be the greatest warrior Russia ever had. If he's not, he's one of the greatest. His grandson, Alexander Pushkin, considered to be the greatest poet. Matter of fact, helped to develop the Russian language, what they speak today, and they call Russian language. He's the reason why they speak it. Right? You can't talk about royalty without talking about African blood. You know why? Because if you talk about King George and King George's wife, Queen Catherine, she was African, and she had 13 children. 11 of them survived, and 11 of them got married into other families, which means that there's not one place of royalty that does not have her blood in it. So when you've been in control of certain places, nobody's really had these issues that we keep talking about. Nobody was enslaved just because they were white. To say that there were never any white, and now we're using social construct, white slaves is foolish. Of course they were, but to act like they were enslaved because they were white, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And there's plenty of it. We have a whole thing in one of our series talking about it. But there's letters where there's Jews that tell you that they had Hebrew slaves, describe what the Hebrew slaves looked like, and we know that there were Jews that had slaves over in the South in America. You deal with, you're actually dealing with a lot of Jewish families that fought, or sent others to fight. So, but I won't get deep into that today. But yeah, man, abuse is abnormal usage. Our sisters have been abnormal used because they've been put in an abnormal position. Our society, like places, there's Big Mama there, even in the North, right? You go down to the South, the Big Mama there, Medea, like you ain't seeing. Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen, but you don't see as regularly Daddy be 100 years old, 82 years old. But Big Mama and them be in their 90s all the time. You know why? Because and that should show us something, right? But if that's there, think about it. If that's the case, that means that Mama, when she getting older, she ain't got no protection. She's not secure. Her husband ain't even there step by step. There's a society that makes its money. Like Nipsey Hussle, when he died, he had a baby mama or a girlfriend or wife. I don't know what she was, but let's just say wife. He had a wife and he had children. What's his wife and children gonna do now? Right? Even if they're taken care of financially, they don't have daddy there. Right? Even in the hip hop culture that we try to claim to be our own, there's something going on that says that black men are not supposed to be part of it. Right? Like there's something going on that says that our sisters are supposed, like we've gotten so used to it, we don't even like it's not even part of conversation. Where's daddy at? Where's granddad at? Where's pop at? If Medea is mother dearest, where's father dearest? Where he at? Is there why don't we even have a term? Why do we not even have a term like Fadia? If there's Medea, where's Fadia? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like we're so used to it, we don't even discuss. Hey, there must be something problematic going on if we don't even see grandfathers. Yes, there are people that don't make it past 21. I'm talking about it's not. If a guy dies in his 50s, we're like, man, he was young, but it's not a surprise in our culture, right? And sorry to hear about the children's father, right? I'm just trying to tell you, like we have this, we don't even recognize, and so why would a wife feel secure at a place where her man's not even going to live? And then we put a thing on it where because we don't live, we just gone ahead and said, well, if we ain't gonna live anyways, might as well just live stupid and this and that, and not worry about anything. So now she's even more in a place of insecurity. I hear you, right? And then you got these strong, independent black women, which once again is a slave term that the master had you start using because you are strong, independent, because you don't need no man, because your man has had his manhood taken away. So now here you are. I hear you praying for 110 years, amen. Right? So here you are, not being strong. Here you are, not being. This is why somebody say something, somebody listen. Because I have no man, this and that, but they still want us to listen, don't they? Because they need us. They saying they don't need you. Part of the healing process is what's going to start having them stop saying that. But right there, they're not healed. They hurt. When you hurt people, hurt people, hurt people. Right? Hurt people, hurt people. So if she's hurting, she's gonna hurt you. Well, I don't want no woman that's gonna hurt me. I'm gonna go with a white woman. What you talking about? This white woman was down with the man that hurt your woman and started the patriarchy. You see what I'm saying? Like, and so you're hurt too. Now you speaking hurt, and y'all yelling at each other. The truth about our women is that they need to be in a place where they feel loved, and they don't feel loved. They don't feel appreciated. They don't feel honored, and we don't care. Matter of fact, you're so busy doing stuff now, you're starting to use the same. You sound like your master. You got Stockholm syndrome. You sound exactly like master. Turn your back around. Let me look at them whips. Because I need to remind myself that you are a slave too, because you don't think you are, but you sitting up there with them fresh wounds, ain't even healed yet. Let me go see your spot. Oh, you live in the attic. I guess you sleep in the house, so you think you're better than the person that sleeps in the leaky cabin. Both of y'all still slaves. You say the same thing. You sound like the slave master. You dance for him very well. Yeah, stop crying. Shoot, there was a white girl that came out there. Oh no, it was a white girl. It was a white guy. I can't remember who told y'all. Big girls don't cry. Was it a guy? Stop crying. Get over it. Stop crying over spilled milk. You can't do anything about it anyway. A man gonna be a man. Gonna be a man. Gonna be a man. What does this stuff even mean? Outside of I don't want to be accountable. Outside of I'm not going to be a protector. You love when the song came out, Miss Independent, by what's his face, by Neo. I don't know what about Neo made y'all think that y'all need to follow him as if he was the word, but y'all love Miss Independent. There was somebody I knew that used to text everybody. Now, always at the end, you remember when everybody used to have a little sign off or whatever, a signature at the end of the text. And the signature was always Miss Independent on everything. I was just like, I'm tired of seeing this thing. Like every time. And I'm not saying, right, because independent, you think independent means something different. You need to be interdependent. You need to have a community, a culture, the Most High, etc. You need to have, if it's your spouse, whatever, you need interdependent. Stop being independent. Celebrating being by yourself and then saying because you can be by yourself, that's what attracts me to you. Like, I want you to hear the foolishness in what I just said. Can I just put this out there? Like, this straight foolishness. And I apologize, I'm not trying to say that I have to control your music, your thought process and your ideologies all the way down there, but just hear what I'm saying. This doesn't even make sense on its face. This is absurd to me. I flatly reject it on its face. Man, just say that. Like, the fallacy of this is astounding to me in this statement. Because you can take care of yourself and you don't need no man, that's why I want to marry you. I'm attracted to a woman that doesn't need me. These cats come out with these, like, I'm gonna give you 100. These cats come out and they begin on stuff because they're trying to manipulate you. They're trying to use this man want to be around that. He shouldn't be worried. You should be able to go to work. You had the babies. He should take care of the children. Well, then if he's going to just be there to take children and live in the reverse role, and I'm not saying that some people that might be what you're called to, right? But let's be honest. Overall, we know after a while how that's going to turn out. Yeah, Jimmy was right. Right? Like it's absurd on its face. I'm not going like, oh yeah, I'm attracted to him. He want to go Dutch on everything. He wants to pay, he hasn't paid for one thing. I won't let him pay for anything. I don't need him to open no doors for me and stuff like that. Like, what kind of man are you with? What kind of human are you with? My little boy can't wait to be able to open the doors for everybody. It's in him to serve. It's in him to protect. I have to get him because if people do stuff that does something that could be a danger to his family at a young age, he starts saying stuff like, that's stupid. I'll fight the blind. I have to be like, hey, son, we don't call him stupid. But he's not wrong for wanting to protect his family. Yeah, men are needed. If there's no value for me, why would I? Sisters, you don't stay in a relationship where there's no value. If you get abused, guess what? You know what abuse is for a man? Even though we've had hot and men have been shot and men have been slapped, men have been raped, and but you might not think. But you know what abuse is? Abnormal usage is for a man. You know when a man feels abused? A man feels abused when he's put in a relationship and and he keeps trying to serve, but he keeps trying to be told why his service doesn't matter. That's one of the most abusive things you could ever do. Every time he serves you, you try to say why it's not there. This is why men get upset when they do something for you, when they give you a gift, when they take you somewhere, and you start saying, well, you know what, on this, I didn't like this part, and I didn't like this, and I didn't like this, and I didn't like this. But you know what happens? He'll listen to you talk to your friends about the stuff that he did. And when you talk to your friends, you find greatness in it, which means that when I'm trying to serve you personally, you abuse. But when somebody talks about what I've done, you tell me that it was great usage. So either it was great usage or it was bad usage. But if it's only bad usage when you talk to me, that's abuse. That's abnormal usage. Brothers are dealing with abuse, but it's because you've been abused as well. I get it. But we've been taught this thing wrong. We've been reversed this nature. I'm not saying, watch this, watch this. You ready for this? You ready for this? To make sure that you, for all the single ladies, and her sister is fighting Jay-Z. She's coming up with these things to be able to talk about Jay-Z's terrible and this and that or whatever. While they doing all that, she still lives who she with. Jay-Z. Right? Wow, you sitting up there talking about this and independence and all that stuff. Lady Gaga, who's saying that she's afraid of this and blah blah, and men and women's powers rights and stuff like that. Guess who? Guess what? She's never came out and said it. She didn't say anything. I ain't read the article though. I ain't seen it. Right? And all this stuff where you hearing people say, "Peep game." I'm going to show you this stuff. All these people that stood up. What's her face? The Johnny Depp. What was the other girl's name? Or what was the girl? Or well, whatever her name is. It was Johnny Depp and the girl who came up from obscurity because Johnny left his wife, who still defended him, by the way. What a wife, what a person, but also you messed that up, right? Oh yeah, Cardi B, same thing. Whatever, Amber Heard, thank you. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard talking about all this stuff and Me Too and F this, something like that. And then somebody had a baby while telling y'all that you need to be feminist, don't need no man. By lying on the dude, even though Johnny probably left out the details. Let's keep it 100. He wasn't telling all the truth. But at the end of the day, like this whole thing that he was trying to abuse her, like come to find out, she literally like had his finger. She threw a glass bottle, the bottle broke, cut his finger off. She literally left a turd in his bed. Yeah, y'all remember Will and Jada too? Everybody, I want that Will and Jada love. I kept telling people a long time ago. I was like, no, you don't. I can tell. Like something ain't right with that. Like people were telling y'all what 15 years ago that they was out here, sleeping with other people or whatever. You said the African people have the same mentality. Who's the African people that have the same mentality? Which one? I mean, I guess if we talk about the tribe country, are we saying it has that same mentality? That they don't hear exactly what the question is. I'm sorry, Eddie. I don't know how to respond to you. But everybody, oh, I want that Will and Jada love. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Right? Jada was a sister from Baltimore that was acting the fool, and all of a sudden she started because she had some money now, and which was Will's money, but because she had some money now, a little bit of prestige now, all of a sudden y'all wanted to listen to her like she was like that's what it like she wasn't giving you no culture. You said in Nigeria, for example, in Nigeria, what part of Nigeria? I'm sorry, because there's women not all right, but even with Will and or person I was looking. I'm sorry, I forgot somebody else. Oh, Monique. Everybody was talking about Monique, and that's right, girl, this and that. And then y'all didn't even think about it until she finally started being open about her open marriage. That she had been, she her and Jada from the place. They from B-more, right? Monique from B-more too. And Monique was out here saying all this stuff and do this and do that or whatever. Monique can't keep her husband out of one that she got. The only all he's supposed to do is be a yes, yes, yep, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. That's all he does. He's living in the same thing while Monique is telling y'all how the man, she's out here lying on other people, out there lying on other people to make sure that you guys go ahead and do stuff. She's messing up her own diaspora and doesn't care, burn it to the ground. But why? Because she got to be a strong, independent woman. Much love for Monique. I hope that she does well. And I literally mean that. It doesn't sound like it, but love is action. And I want to see her do better. And she's from Bmore, right? She ain't that far away from the DMV where I spent most of my life. I got property over in Bmore. I'd love to be able to see her keep doing better and better and better and better. But she walking around with something that don't belong to her. That's not yours. Once again, somebody who wanted to get up in there, wanted to do the television show the same way, wanted to do the comedy thing, wanted to do the radio show, wanted to make sure that you got an Oscar. And then after that, when they said, okay, your time is done, we'll throw you to the side. We do our women. You wanted to be treated white, but you ain't quite white, but we'll treat you similar. Thank you very much. Get kicked to the side. Now, when she comes back to her people and she's like, oh, okay, well, I won't get this, and Hollywood hates this and that. It's like, look, you talking bad about Oprah. Bad, I forget whatever you that time. The reality, though, is that if they had given you a call, because she even said as much, if they had given you a call, you wouldn't have said nothing. Right? If they had given you a call and said, you can go ahead and be in our movie, you wouldn't have had a thing to say, would you? You know why you wouldn't have had a thing to say? You wouldn't have had a thing to don't care about you. And so guess what? You got treated just like the stuff, and you're doing the same Me Too, hashtag Me Too. Treated just like the stuff, and you're doing the same Me Too, hashtag Me Too, feminist movement type stuff. Keep happening in our community. It was happening when you were okay with it. See, our women need to be defended in this. Dating from outside the club, right? You can't even get it. Which is why the Chris Rock said thing he said about Jada a long time ago. Chris Rock, when he was saying it, remember Will Smith, and everybody's like, he should have, we're going to boycott the Oscars if Will Smith can't get in. And it was like, Jada, you're not even, what Chris Rock was saying was like, Jada, you're not even somebody who can get in. Right? So Will Smith was busy telling I'm not responsible for your happiness. Yeah, I can't make somebody else happy. I should create an environment they be happy in. Everybody went to the book and they bought it, and they wanted the special one that as soon as they got the book. Culture. This is what we're talking about. We're putting people up and acting like they're supposed to be our queens. Ain't no queen bees. We don't have no queen BITC, you know what? Because our women are not female dogs. I don't know why men address us like this, because you addressing yourself like that. Stop putting these people out there and saying, I'm just with Lil Kim or what. Like Lil Kim, you calling yourself a queen bee. You raised the gender of queen bees upon your lips. Right? And then after being the queen bee and saying you sexy and this and that or whatever, you change the way you change your whole look. Because you hate trying to walk that old walk, you talk that don't even look like you. People don't know how to address you, how to listen. How can I respect somebody that doesn't even know who they are? Difficult. I'm gonna try to respect your humanity, but it's actually difficult to respect somebody when there's no person there, which is one of the first things I'm gonna do when I deal with people is respect your humanity and then say, let's figure out who you are. Let's figure out calling. Let's figure out what's going on in your life. I remember when it was to be a little boy. I never had, but I remember going over a lot of boys' houses and they had a little Kim post somewhere, or they had hidden somewhere. Mama didn't put it up, right? But couldn't see it. And what I'm saying is there's a representation out there that's greater than what we've been getting. That's why I put my wife. I believe my wife to be a real queen, a real wife, a real sister, a real indication of what true beauty is in the end. Somebody who cares about the health of others, somebody who takes what you give and multiplies it, who is a true helpmate. Like there's a standard that's there that's not represented. Just like we do with brothers. Just because somebody got money doesn't mean that they're great. You can't hear what Julia Roberts has to say on the matter. Who cares what Julia say on the matter? When last time Julia Roberts did something for you? So, we just have to build about these things. Like I said, I focus on our women today. Prayerfully, you were able to hear some things about yourselves as women if you didn't fit into this diaspora police conversation. Hopefully, you were able to hear some stuff about yourself. You're not a woman, right? Hopefully, you were able to be empathetic, and empathy will really be able to be the bond that really puts us together. Even it's not about, and hopefully, you grow in that, you learn from that, you honor that. We appreciate you. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and take my leave. We'll see you guys later on Kofi_42 for our live session. I'll try to be on there about 7:45-ish to about 8:30, and then we'll go ahead and get ready to get into our Black History Month for this evening. Thank you again, everybody who came out for the SOT workout. We'll have our next one on Wednesday, rising at 6 a.m. Eastern New York time. Thank you for everybody that did early rising Bible study session with us. We'll have our next one Monday next week. Prayerfully, we have our ministerial staff take over there. Ministerial staff is a reminder, even though you should be getting the link and everything today. But as a reminder, we'd like to have our ministerial meeting or ministerial training, which really will be more of a meeting this time. This Thursday, we're looking at about 6:30 p.m. Eastern New York time or so. Thank you so much for being on with us. We appreciate you. Keep praying for everybody. We have a couple of people who've lost some family members, including myself. We were able to participate, whether physically or virtually, whatever, with a couple of them on Saturday. So we praise y'all for that, and that we were able to be present and to be able to help out. We're still praying for Sister Deja and her family and their loss. They keep getting better. We have a few of us that are sick. Once again, I haven't gotten permission to talk about them per se, but we're asking that you guys just keep each other lifted up in prayer. Thank you so much once again for being on with us. We give all praise, honor to Yahweh Elohim. We give him all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. Check her out, as always, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we still are in the season of making sure we do these coat drives. So if you like that, please let us know, and we can give you some information if you want to give some kind of financial donation or whatever. Oh, yeah. So I think that's all we have for today. So just keep out either today or tomorrow. We should be able to confirm with the calendar invite. And that's it. So we'll see you guys tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern New York time. Feel free to be part of the conversation. Thank you again for your time, your talent, your effort, your energy, your gifts. Even if it's donations, even financial donations, offerings, tithes, whatever it is that you give to help us to serve, we appreciate it. We're continuing to move forward. This is our year where we're living inside of that which we have pursued. We're going to hashtag finish strong in that. We're looking towards in next year where we're going to look beyond what we see so that we can press and train towards the market of howling Most High, the market of howling Most High has for us. So we thank you all. We honor you. We appreciate you. We respect you so much. Thank you so much for once again giving us some time today. We know that you could have been anywhere else, and we don't take it lightly that you decided that it was okay to spend some time with us. So we thank you again. We look forward to talking to you all again. We appreciate you. And that's all that I have for today. Thank you for the love. Appreciate that. So once again, as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Patreon Kingdom, Patreon family. We got some stuff that's been popping up for you. We're going to try and make sure there's some more other items from the convocation pop up today. Prayerfully, ministerial staff, by the end of this week, we should be able to cut up your stuff enough to where you can have your particular message you gave, and then we'll be able to also put some of that on the YouTube channel as well. Like we said, public professional things. Pray, by the way, for our very own minister select Omar, as he's getting closer to his stuff coming to to the ending and to fruition. And we also ask and pray that you pray for minister select Morel. Moselle. We got a minister Morel, but we also have now minister select Moselle. So we have Minister Select Omar Hunter finishing up. We're going to have Minister Select Moselle finishing up, and hopefully on December 19th for our Women in Red service, she'll be giving her initial sermon, and possibly somewhere around then, even if not for that particular event, he might be giving his as well. So we're thankful and grateful. Continue to pray for them, lift each other up, and we look forward to many great things to come. Once again, as always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless, speaking the unspoken, until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, Yashadal, that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shabbat shalom, family. Peace.